Friends Church, we had a young lady who had some conflicts with school starting today. So I have my good friend, Mr. Stephen Skeeter, to lead us in the invocation and the pledges.
Sure.
And both of the pledges are, y'all probably familiar with the United States one, but the Texas pledge is up there for anybody who's struggling with that one.
Sure.
And Stephen, if you would, after you lead us in the invocation and the pledges, would you please let us know a little bit about the Friends Church and maybe a program or something that's going on?
Sure.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Welcome, everyone. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we are so grateful to live in a town and a community like Friendswood that just is built on faith, family, and education. And we're grateful that we live in a country that we have lots of freedoms. And I just pray tonight for this leadership team and the leaders here in the city that you'll just give them good discernment and wisdom to make really good decisions that align with that faith and family and community and education. And I pray that the spirit of the meeting tonight, that we'll all have ears to hear and we'll be slow to respond and just give us great discernment. We're so grateful for just the ability to govern and to work as a community. And so we ask these things in your precious name, in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
All right.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Just a couple things about the Friends Church. Been here a long time. We're fortunate that we have a really diverse age group. Lots of programs, both youth programs, children's programs, as well as adult programs. And so I've been really surprised at kind of the age diversity and all of that. Two industries that really kind of stick out to me that I think transcends other churches and all is one, we call it a shower ministry. And we take clothing, polo shirts, t-shirts for men and women's stuff and sort them and then work with a couple other church groups in the area and go downtown and offer a shower ministry and allow homeless people and all to kind of pick clothes and recycle clothes and some things like that. And so the church takes some donations. They also go down on Tuesdays if anyone wants to volunteer. The other program that we're pretty passionate about is Family Promise. It's Family Promise at Clear Lake. And I know several of the other churches in the area participate as well. And it's really designed to support family homelessness. A lot of times in this day and age, if you're homeless, men go to one program and women and children go to another shelter. And this is really a program that allows the families to stay together and then get some teaching, some training, some fellowships from some churches and things like that. And so those are two programs. If anyone's got any questions or wants to know more, Rusty knows how to get a hold of me. So I'd be glad to answer any questions. So thank you, Rusty, and the group.
He's being modest. His wife, Beth, and his sister-in-law, Desiree, did a wonderful job at Family Promise at Friendswood. I'm going to tell you something, that's hard work. And we've had a lot of discussions at church about that. And I'm very proud of the work they do. Many of y'all know the oldest member of the church, like my mother, sitting right back there. And she's been going to that church since she's a little girl. Matter of fact, there's a plaque in the church for 8th grade in the old Family Promise building. And it's already, I think there's 16 of y'all on that plaque, Mom. And then that's impressive. And of course, I attend the church. Mr. Griffon goes to church with me there. And many people have. But if y'all think I'm not passionate like I am about everything, but if you think I'm not passionate about the Friends Church, is one of the few things that cannot be replaced. You're wrong, because that church, the way I say it, the way it smells, the way it looks, just the cemetery, everything about it is 100% Friendswood. It is spectacular, and I love that place. So, any of y'all who are looking for a good church or looking for some good philanthropy, contact me. I'll get you a hold of Stephen, and there's many opportunities to do a lot of good things there. So thank you, Stephen, for coming up. I really appreciate that very much. Okay. Let's go to the Board of Directors report. Let's start this time down with Mr. Gibson.
I attended the Harris County Flood Control Safer meeting in Pasadena this past month. What Harris County Flood Control is doing is meeting with the public to try to shape large-scale flood risk reduction strategies. And there are 2 more opportunities to give input or learn more about that. The virtual meetings on the 19th and the 20th of August. And you can access that information through the Harris County Flood Control website. Also attended a good meeting on Clear Creek Watershed Steering Committee today. And I'm sure Robert or Jason will give us more information about that later.
Thank you, Jim. Johnson.
Well, I'd like to say hello and acknowledge Wayne Dolcefino, who has been in the TV business for a long time. We all remember him when we were kids. And he did a lot of good things in Houston for a lot of people who were deserving that didn't have a voice. And the other thing, I told Wayne, I said, look, I know Marvin Zeller's about to roll over his grave. You hear tonight, and Marvin can't talk. But I want to tell a funny story quickly. An old friend of mine who I grew up with named George Ballas invented a thing called a weed eater. And I went to high school with his son and we laughed at him. We thought he was crazy. And of course, he made $1 bazillion. Well, he also was a tinker and he came up with a thing called Pewter Tutor, where he taught people how to use a computer. This is a long time ago when nobody knew how to do that. So they got news that Mr. Zeller was going to show up. And so they all went out and bought gray wigs and blue glasses.
We did for him.
Well,
I need a wig.
anyway, so when Marvin came in, they had all their video cameras. You probably remember this, had all their video cameras, and he just laughed. And they gave the person who complained their $148 back. And
That was smart.
that was it. Anyway, we're glad you're here.
Did I miss public comment?
Not yet.
Huh?
Not yet.
Good.
Want to talk?
Anything else, Mr. Johnson?
Oh, I just want to say that continue with the IDRT study. The sooner we get that stuff, the better. And I'd like to just acknowledge our staff once again. They're doing a great job. And we had a workshop this meeting with the outfit. I don't want to steal y'all's thunder, but it was called Red Granicus. And it's going to help take us into the 21st century as far as getting our accounting software and most importantly, our emergency response system set up so that we can help the taxpayers find out about flood issues and so forth ahead of time. And that's all I have.
Thank you. All right, thank you. Ms. Kim?
Just to follow up on the Granicus, this team is doing an amazing job here at the Drainage District, and Paige has brought Granicus to us, and it will show our citizens of Friendswood, Lake City, that of this drainage district, it will be transparency big time, where you can find out anything that's going on at the drainage district, which will be absolutely amazing. The only other thing I have to say is the kiddos are starting back to school. School year started today here in Friendswood. Others start tomorrow, and just pray for the students, the teachers, and thank a teacher because they're out there and they really they put their heart and soul into what they do.
Jones.
Those of you who've seen me speak before, I'd rather speak off the cuff, but I took the time to put a few words down, so I'm going to read them. It was fun doing the exercises we did the other day, working through ideation. and, ideas. And I think my favorite part was when we picked who our potential spokesman would be. Without tipping them, they were all very similar, even though we independent. So I was Roy Kent from Ted Lasso, gruff, we ripped. And pretty much down the line, it was someone that was very direct, a little gruff, but completely honest. And then this weekend, I heard a quote that I hadn't heard since sixth grade civics by Margaret Mead. Quote was, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has." And I thought that just really encapsulated that kind of feeling. A while back, I was asked some questions about the district, and I just walk around making notes all the time. When you have ADD, you think constantly and you forget constantly. So I wanted to read a bit of that. The benefit of having a governing body solely focused on a major health and safety concern, flood prevention, is the dedication and expertise that comes with that singular mission. When you look at our city governments, their responsibilities are spread across every aspect of daily life. And while they do excellent work as two of the top-rated cities in the state, their focus is necessarily broad, and that breadth can lead to distractions from major concerns, especially during budgeting and the execution of work throughout the year. When the only goal is to protect people and their property, the results are driven by that focus. When this board was inaugurated, we hit the ground running, and as such, we needed a point to revisit and redefine the district's mission statement. To make clear to people we serve exactly what drives it. While it may be the job of our city governments to help focus and foster economic growth and development, those concerns do not register when your singular focus and duty is a public safety and health concern. So as follows, revisit our new mission statement: to enhance the safety and well-being of our community by proactively managing and improving the district's drainage systems. We are committed to mitigating the risks of flooding through the diligent maintenance and enhancement of our creeks, tributaries, waterways, and ditches. In our pursuit of safeguarding our citizens from the financial and personal toll of floodwaters, we will also prioritize the preservation of the district's natural beauty, or the 3 Ps: people, pets, and property.
All right, thanks, Jason. Last night I sat down at FISD for the first time in a while and went through their, just sat there with their meeting. I think Kelly was there, sat beside me. I sat with Michael Ross, a member of council, and we just listened to kind of their prayer over the citizens returning to school and what's going on with them. They had some interesting discussions, so it was good to sit there and to listen to them debate issues that were so personal to them. And I invite y'all to please keep up with Kelly and the FISD and her nonprofit and see how we can help the kids around Friendswood as they go back to school. What Jason said is really important. I don't want to get back into it, but what we do here is first is we protect lives and then financial devastation to our citizens. Some people might be questioning like I told you, down the viability of drainage districts. But this district, through a multitude of leadership, has served this area very well. It's done a great job on Dickinson Bayou and preparing that battlefield for new homes and new businesses out there that will substantially increase the tax base of Friendswood citizens that have been floating around here since I was a kid and since it's 79. Through 89 Chantel, 2001 Allison, 2017 Harvey, and have been sacrificing their tax money for the development, the proper pre-development of that area out there. And the staff here has done a great job preparing that battlefield. Now there's homes getting built, and we're going to have some increased tax money at some point in time to work with to mitigate our waterways and our tributaries and ditches and the stuff we maintain here. So that's important to know that. The Clear Creek watershed people have funded that activity for decades. So anyway, I wanted to make that because there are some people here, and Wayne Delchifino's here today. And of course, he was asking me, what's the viability of the water district? So I want to hit that. I wanted to hit his other question about the viability of the Dixie Farm Road detention. Because you know me, I don't really dodge any stuff. So let's talk about that. And I told Wayne, there is a hydrologic study out there from Harris County Flood Control, Gauge Engineering, and what they've given us. There's 5 scenarios on there. People in Friendswood, I know y'all can read and look at statistics, so I invite y'all to take one of those copies. If there's not enough out there, grab you one, grab you another one, and you decide for yourself how you want millions to be spent and what results you want. And please get back to the board and you let us know what you think. Let us know how you want your money spent, how you want us to burn it up, what results you want. Okay. What was the other thing, Wayne? Oh, we talked about board benefits. So healthcare benefits for the board. This is a good one, Wayne. So I like this one. This is one where I believe that boards around the state, and not all laws allow that, they should have access to basic healthcare. Basic healthcare. And for somebody who has been through the ringer on that, and other people here, I know Mr. Gibson's fighting some stuff. I think that is the least you can do for all the boards. But here's the problem. Not all boards allow that, and not all water districts, and well, I mean, the water code allows it, but not all the civil code and everything allows that to happen. So there's differences, opinion, and written word of the Attorney General, and we're getting that opinion, and we'll figure that out. And when the time comes where if there's certain districts throughout the state or our district that is not doing what we should do, we'll correct it. But that for a public official will actually go, hey, we'll fix it and we'll fix it. That's all you can ask. Public officials make mistakes. I make a lot of them, but I'll fix it. And you can fix it. You can admit when you're wrong. Okay, so we will see. What was the other thing, Wayne? Oh, honesty and transparency. That's a big one. I like that one. This is my favorite one. Y'all can look at videos. You can look at videos. Some people can actually speak and be honest and transparent about what they're doing. And I'll tell you something, there's not really a lot to hide around here. We're struggling in Galveston County, Texas, because it's a coastal area and we're up against the gun here. We're on the backside of Mars and we're arguing about oxygen generation. That's my analogy. That's not the time to argue about flooding mitigation and regional solutions in this area. People might not like certain people. Politics can be a rough and tumble business, but I'm gonna tell you this. You better put that aside and you better get together and we better start solving some problems. Because in the last 56 years I've been around this rock, we haven't done a lot. Not for regional flooding mitigation in this area. Do we do great work on our creeks and tributaries when we can? Absolutely. Have we made a regional impact that makes a big difference, a heavy lift? We have not. It's herding cats. It's tough. But at some point you got to do it. And somebody in church said the other day, the last thing I'll say is I always say people before dollars. Somebody in church during open worship said, courage before comfort. I like that one. I like courage before comfort because that's what you got to have. The little courage to step out there because you're going to get hammered in politics. But the people get to decide who they're going to back when you're getting hammered and who's telling the truth. So that was good words, Jason. I can't say it much better than that. I don't usually read stuff, but that's all I have to say. I will say this crowd right here shows you how much interest there is in the district now. The meetings are at 8 a.m. It shows you what can happen when you put public awareness out there and you're not afraid to have people come in here and give you positive and negative feedback, even with reporters who probably aren't here for the best reason. So the staff is excellent. I love them. I know y'all smiling over there, but that's my niece and my daughter's best friend. I know y'all get to hear this stuff often. They don't want to hear this, but the staff is excellent. And I'm proud of them. They're doing a great job. It's an uphill climb, but all of the benefits you'll see this year, I think you'll see the benefits of how we interact, how we deal with the citizens, and how we spend our money, which is the most important thing. So with that said, I want to close the board of directors report and I want to go to citizen comments. Citizen comments will be no more than 5 minutes per person. There are sign-up sheets in the back. If you haven't signed one, please do so. And Fanny, if you would, grab those and bring them to me. Or if you already have them, I'll take them.
One, there may be others, Fanny, double check there's no other.
Does anybody else want to talk? Right?
Depends on the time. What happened?
This is the time.
This only time.
Speak now.
If it's about your item that's on the discussion and action items, you're free to speak at that time as well, just like last time. But if it's about additional things, you're also welcome to speak now. Do you want to sign up real quick?
I'm gonna close it down. Anybody want to speak?
Yeah.
Okay, we got some, okay. Just
Our
bring them.
staff member Fanny will be grabbing additional ones. We also have our standing item for Mr. Johnson. Yes, sir.
He's gonna go last. You always go last though. Mr. Wayne Delchifino.
Right here. Over here.
Yes, sir.
Look, since you were talking about me so much, Rusty, I felt obligated you suggested Mark would roll over his grave, and I miss Mark. You suggested I'm doing a hit piece, and maybe that's what people think we do, but let me tell you something. I don't like extra layers of cover. Never have. If you watch my stories over the years, I'm not a big fan of layers of cover. Okay? I like it simple and accountable. I also don't like spending money on lawyers in lawsuits over something that's become some like World War III. I also don't think it's healthy and good for the taxpayers to have folks on this board saying nasty stuff about the mayors of Friendswood and League City. And then in return, they're saying nasty stuff about you guys. I don't give two craps about the politics. Okay? I years ago, I investigated Chambers Liberty County Navigation, which was created about 100 years ago because we were going to build some stupid waterway to Dallas. Okay? Never happened. Did it go away? No. Sometimes government agencies are created and they serve a purpose until they're no longer needed, until the overlap of taxation is what these people have to pay. Okay? They're paying for this nasty fight. The taxpayers, whether you're right or wrong, the taxpayers are paying for this nasty fight between the cities and the drainage districts over who gives a crap more about flooding. That is not healthy. And, if you think I'm here doing something negative, I think taxpayers have a right to know about the money that was lost. What employees were punished, if any. You're suing a guy, right? You're suing the guy who supposedly ripped you off. I've interviewed that guy. He's just some poor yahoo whose driver's license was stolen in some identity case, right? You're suing him. You're paying lawyers, wasting money, suing some poor idiot who had nothing to do with the money you got stolen. Nothing. I think that's a waste of money. I think, with all due respect, and look, I have health conditions too. Okay, it's no secret. MS, right? It was a head-on car accident. Congratulations, we're all screwed up. Okay, but I don't think elected board members, should get insurance. The reason it says employees, it's because it's meant for the people who work, not the people who are on the board. Okay, I think things like that send the wrong message. If you commit money to a project and then you decide it's a horrible project, look, I think that's interesting. I've learned a lot tonight. I really have. And I appreciate coming here and I appreciate all the attention. And I hope I'm responsible for some of these people coming because I got all these emails saying, you're going there, let's have some fun. Okay. But, nobody tells me, people hire my firm to investigate things. Not a secret. Okay. Because I got 9 employees. Somebody's got to pay. Okay. I've got paralegals. I've got investigators. I've got all kinds of folks. It costs a lot of money to investigate government. Okay. Money that we shouldn't have to spend. The government would stop worrying about this political battle you guys got going on and figure out what's the cheapest, best way to provide flood control. If the cities say they can take over the ditches, then no offense, we don't really need you. That's the reality. And all these speeches doing directed for the camera, really nice. It's great. I enjoy it. But I think it's more important for people to know why we lost the money. I think it's more important to find out why we're spending legal money and how much we plan to spend in a fight with the developer who will win in the end. They'll win. They will. Right? And why in the interviews I've done, this nastiness is not healthy. It's not. I don't know what anyone's political ambitions. I'm sure you're going to run for mayor or something. But I don't know what people's political ambitions are. But can I tell you something? As a taxpayer, Nobody gives a crap, right? I have some connection to Friendswood. In 1979, I jumped off I-45. I was a radio reporter for KTRH, jumped off into the water and swam to a place where I can go to the meeting of the Friendswood City Council during Tropical Storm Flood Ed. I remember it to this day, okay? I get it. I know there's a flooding problem. But I'm just going to suggest, and then I'm going to leave, that we need to worry about the best, most effective, cheapest way to provide the service. That's what I think taxpayers care about.
Thank you, Wayne. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. And thanks for coming. You're
It
welcome.
was fun.
You're welcome anytime.
Yeah, I mean, I was getting speeches.
I like it, man. Come on. It's good stuff.
It's a great.
It's great. Chris Johnson.
Yeah.
Hey, Chris, announce your address when you go up there, please.
Well, lots of things.
No problem. Just your address. And
36 Wilderness Trail. I'm Chris Johnson. I didn't know that you were here about the drainage district. It's a fascinating idea to be for government and the idea that you don't believe in checks and balances. Because the idea of a county-wide drainage district was the understanding that flooding requires a regional approach. Meaning that if you left a municipality up to its own devices to make decisions just about that municipality, that it would affect people outside that municipality who are also attached to these waterways and deal with flooding. So it's a fascinating idea. I didn't come to talk about that. I would respectfully disagree with Mr. Dolcefino that most people are here to talk about the drainage district. I think most people are here to talk about this project because this project has been a big discussion in this community. And I'm not opposed to this project. I think that there's a ton of questions that need to be answered about the project that would really help with whatever the board's going to do. And Scott's here. I know Scott's looked at it and other engineers have looked at it. But one of the things that happens is reports like this come out and it's an engineering report that nobody really understands. And so like what's happening on this property now is this sheet flow exits that property. It goes into that ditch that fronts Wilderness Trail. And it inundates all the properties that are fronting Wilderness Trail. And that's what happens right now. And so what we're talking about now is we're going to put a whole bunch of impervious cover. And so there's a drainage plan. You see the blue, there's an offsite detention. I see some of the previous board members are here. And one of the promises that the previous board made is that this property would detain its own water. And so now we see that there will be some component of offsite detention. And so I think that for purposes of today, it's super important that the board explain to the public how this is all going to work. And with regard to the sheet flow, if you look at the map, there's arrows, it's all base, Scott, but there's arrows that show that it looks like some of the streets are going to be used for conveyance. And especially with regard to that conveyance that will front Wilderness Trail, is the ditch and 100-year flood event plus the days that follow going to be able to handle that amount of water as it goes to the west side down Wilderness Trail and into that detention pond. I know that some of it's going to go to the east into those two detention ponds, but it's a question of how's it going to get there? Is it going to be pumped? I know that the board typically doesn't like pumps. I think that's outside the criteria. And so I think it would be really helpful for the public to understand how this water is going to move. And, you get an engineering impact study and it's difficult to understand. I think also, previously it was proposed that there was going to be a straight wall design on that offsite. And one of the biggest issues, I think, with regard to the offsite detention is that property was purchased for like $850,000 of taxpayer dollars. And so it looks like it's being dedicated for detention to this development. And, and I don't know that that's the intent. I don't know if that's what's happening. I don't know if that detention is just to service that section of the Friendswood Parkway that's going there. And so I think a lot of these folks have these types of questions about the development. I will say that like civil discourse is important. Like the fact that Mr. Dolcefino came here and has complaints about you that's his right. And whoever disagrees with you, that's their right to come and express those things. I think the disagreement that the board has with the city of Friendswood or with developers, I think they're important discussions to have because we have this massive problem in Galveston County with flooding. And there is no easy solution. And so what's happened is over a period of time, there's been a divergence of thought about how we're supposed to tackle that problem. And it's led to, I think, a lot of good discussions and slowing these projects down to make sure that we're doing it the right way. and make sure that we're getting the bang for the buck, that the money is spent correctly and with a regional approach versus just what's best for this one tract of land for this developer. So I think, it's appropriate for you to come and air the grievances, so to speak, but I think that these discussions are important and I'm not embarrassed by them. I've had to have them. It's been a learning experience for all of us in this room to see these last few tracts of land to be developed and understand that there's a lot of impact from that development. So I think that what you guys could really do today to help the public is understand how this water is going to move, help us understand the volume, what these detention ponds are supposed to do, how the water is going to get there, what the effect is going to be on that street, Scott, and also what's going to happen with regard to inside of that development. I mean, you can see it's 40 acres. And so 40 acres across to get to that detention pond I don't understand it. I'm sure it works. I just don't understand it. So I appreciate the board's work. Scott, I know that you had to do a ton of work evaluating these projects, and I appreciate your work. I just think that it's hard for us to understand without somebody helping us.
Sure.
Thanks, guys.
Joseph Whittington. Hey, Joseph, state your address, please.
310 Shade Creek. So Wayne Delfino was bringing up taxes. Y'all were talking about taxes earlier. I would just like to reiterate on last meeting's issue I brought up was, because I haven't seen anything yet on the new schedule or agenda. Just maybe putting some tax dollars back into the public for rainwater catching. That would definitely help, especially I guess in this area, Wilderness Trail. If everybody's catching our own water coming off the roof, that could help mitigate flooding or localized rain events. And there's also, I probably forward to y'all later, but there's a way to not only put underground storage, so it can look actually, I think Friendswood prides itself in trying to look like a beautiful city compared to others, where you can put underground storage that actually filters all the rain through different types of sediment, and it's going back out into the creek or when it's not flooding. By the cleaner water for, because we have some dirty creek water right now from all the previous chemical plants, but it's a slow process. But I think if maybe we should look towards that. That's actually cleaning the water at the same time as catching the water, and it can be done at a low cost without using chlorine, and it just takes time and a little bit of effort. But I just wanted to reiterate that on maybe helping the citizens get involved rather than just putting all the work on your backs. So that's it. Thanks.
You sign up in the back. You're going to talk. Don Johnson,
So go to the back and sign up now.
go for it.
Thank
Up in the back. You got it. Just wait, Don. You're going to go last as usual.
So I gotta go sign up and then walk up?
Yes, sir. Is that okay?
Sure. You're the boss.
And you're disruptive.
What was that remark for?
Steve?
You have to make a remark to a citizen that's gonna speak to you that they're disrupting.
Hear you guys talking about.
Please state your name and your
Gavin Holland,
address.
1201 Crawford Drive.
Thank you, sir.
I hear you talk about honesty, take care of the citizens. The gentleman that just was up here, his property was platted before this district existed. So the right of way wasn't there. So you're trying to enforce a right of way on this individual that doesn't exist. Just stop the bullying. Thank you.
Don Johnson. Picture address, please, Don.
My address is 810 Rosewood Drive. talk to. I'm Don Johnson. A lot of y'all know me. I live actually on Clear Creek Drive. And the story I'm going to tell you starts out many, many years ago when they were going to build a development across the creek from us. They were going to put a strip center in there. And the people that were doing that went over to Harris County and they got authorization to bring in many, many loads of dirt from the South Belt Detention Basin project. And Steve Rocky came over and saw they had that piled up 4 to 5 feet on the other side of the creek from us. Well, our neighborhood said, what's going to happen when it rains? The water's going to sheet flow into the creek and then it'll be over flooding our property. Fortunately, the city made a mistake when they issued the building permit for all that. They got a little bit eager in trying to comply with the building permit and did that before the city council had actually authorized a new regulation which would allow them to do that. And long story short, Harris County got involved and Harris County said, you're right, that shouldn't be there. We're going to come pick that dirt up and take it away. And the only problem that they ran into was the property owner then said, wait a minute, that's my dirt now. You can't have it. So fortunately, they had a very reasonable people running the Harris County Drainage District. I went over and had many discussions with them and they decided to buy the property. So they were ready to close on the property. They were going to buy it and made a pretty good price on it. And then somebody showed up at the last minute. Wait a minute, where's my money? And that was the developer that was going to build the shopping center. He said, our agreement was you were going to give me half. We were going to split the money. Property owner went, well, you didn't do anything. And the guy kind of laughed and said, yeah, but that's not what our contract says. Our contract just says we're going to split the money once the property's sold. So that brought everything to a stop. Had to go back and talk to Russ Property and Matt Zini, and they decided to up the ante. And so they upped the ante. They satisfied the developer, they satisfied the property owner, and they bought the property. And once they bought the property, I went and talked to them and the city of Friendswood and Galveston County, and somehow we brought together a coalition of governments that said, hey, what we need to do there is we need to build a great big detention basin and catch a lot of that water that's flooding down Clear Creek from Pyramid. Nobody thought we could get agreement among everybody to do something like that, but we did. And remarkably, the project started up. And I can't tell you how much, it really enjoyed listening to all those trucks and the bulldozers and the beep, 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 and the ring, 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 and going on across the creek from us as they were over there taking down the trees and doing the rough grading and pulling the dirt out. Well, one morning I get up and I open the door. I don't hear anything. It's just dead silent. Well, that can't be. So I ran over there to take a look real quick and wasn't hardly anybody out there. There was one worker out there. And I asked him, I said, well, what's the deal here? I don't see any trucks, bulldozers, none of the equipment, excavators, they're all gone. He said, yeah, the project's close, shutting down. And I was like in a panic. I was like, oh my God, those people that hate detention basins somehow won the battle and stopped the project. So I went back home and I started calling Harris County Flood Control and other people. And fortunately, I found out the contract that's ending is the rough grading contract. And I knew enough about projects that I've been involved in for the last 25 years. This project ain't finished. Yes, it looks like the rough grading is done. And so I talked to Harris County Flood Control District. They said, we need to get the people that are funding this project together and decide, what do we want to do? Do we want to do a dry bottom? Do we want to do a wet bottom? What do we want to do with this project going forward? So that meeting's going to happen sometime later this month. The sooner the better as far as I'm concerned. I don't like the thought of not knowing exactly what's going to happen. But anyway, to get back to the story, this month, there has been a whole lot of discussion, negative discussion about a great big detention basin over there trying to catch water. By my calculation, if they finish out that detention basin over there with a wet bottom, they'll be storing 325 million gallons of detention water. That's not enough to solve Clear Creek's flooding problem, but that's a whole bunch of water, 325 million gallons. Will not be going downstream. We'll be catching it at the detention basin and stopping it right there. And years ago, when I first got involved in this, I used to argue against detention basins, that detention basins, we can't build one big enough. I had an Army Corps engineer tell me one time, if we were to try and solve all of Friendswood's flooding problems, we'd need a detention basin that was as big as Clear Lake. Clear Lake can hold a bunch of water. So I've always known that we can't solve all of the problems with a detention basin. But I do know that every time we try to talk about conveyance, let's move the water on down and somehow get it into Galveston Bay, we ran into a wall where, no, you need detention basins to prove that you've got a legitimate project going on to try and make sure you're not sending more water downstream above 100-year flood level than you would otherwise. So to actually do that, conveyance, you've got to have detention basins. If you don't have detention basins, you're going to get hit with a lawsuit, bigger than anything you've seen before. The downstream communities are going to come up here and say, no, you can't just flood us. That can't be your solution. Your solution has to be something more than that. So that's where detention basins come into play. Even if they don't store enough and lower the water level as much as you would like, they at least allow you to get to a point of conveyance where conveyance does have bigger gains in lowering the water level. So I'm hoping that, we will move into that meeting. We will come to an agreement. And the best part about this project for the drainage district, at least, the drainage district only pays 10 cents on the dollar. So if you say, well, it's too expensive. Well, when you're getting a 90% discount, how can that be too expensive? I think we came up with a pretty good deal for the drainage district. But I agree, people need to get together and people need to decide how they best want to spend their money, and if that's the way they want to do it, or do they want another solution.
Thank you, Don. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Presentations. With the Clear Creek project update presentation by 5E Engineering, Liz Parent. Come on, Liz, come on up here.
Hi, I'm Liz Parent with 5 Engineering. We've been helping the district with the Clearview project, and I'm here to give you an update of progress and where I think we should go from there. Here we go. So you go to the next slide. For those of you that, here's the agenda for the meeting. So we'll tell you a little bit about where the project is, what the goals of the project were, and then kind of the modeling approach and how we look at things and what alternatives we looked at, and then our recommendations. So the location of the project is highlighted in the little yellow square where it says project area on the map. It's downstream of Meredith Creek, and it's around the area where Cedar Gully comes in, inside the city of, or just outside the city of Friendswood, I suppose. No, it's in the city of Friendswood, sorry. You can switch to the next slide. This is a zoomed in section. So the green lines are the cross sections that are in the HACRAF model that is that was the basis for this. So those are the sections that we were looking at. So what were we trying to do? We were trying to take available studies and then consider that land area and develop some alternatives to have benefits and see what those benefits might be and quantify the benefits of each alternative. So to do that, we have to do some manipulation of the models. And we started with the Mammoth model, which is the latest and greatest that Harris County Flood Control District has submitted to FEMA. It hasn't been approved yet, but it's the best available data. We upgraded the model version, and then we did some manipulation of the model to make sure that it would run fast enough, because these models can take like 2 days to run each frequency, and we wanted to be able to run multiple alternatives and multiple frequencies for you guys to get a better understanding of what's going on. So we truncated the model. You can see how this is overlaid on LiDAR, which is supposed to represent the topography of the ground area. And then the area that's dark, that's kind of squared off, that's what we truncated the Clear Creek model to. So we started with this big model that took days to run, and we shrunk it down to one that runs in 2 days so we could test different things. The upstream limits is at Edgewood Drive, and then the downstream limits of our model are Whispering Pine. So we looked at multiple things, and we settled on these 2 alternatives that I'm going to tell you about, and they're conceptual ideas. So the first one is just digging a pond in the project area. So within that highlighted area that we saw on the previous slide, and this is what the model cross section looks like. And so you can see we dug out that detention basin in the model run. And then the next one we ran has a conveyance option. So the section that says project limits is again where the pond was, but we cut it all the way across. So if you see the section next to it says additional right of way, that's the area that is in between the project area and the flow line of the creek that we also dug out just to see what those benefits might be. So we're going to look at some results now, but I'm going to caveat this with, we start with you dig, but you still have to mitigate. So what we're left with right now is a model that's not mitigated yet. And we do that in steps so that we can see, is there any benefit to that occurring to start with, right? If there's no benefit and it's not really helping, then we move on to another alternative before we spend hours and days mitigating the model. So you can see this one has impact still, 0.02 to 0.09, but there are only minor reductions. So looking at this, just digging a pond in that area is not super effective, which makes sense because if you think about it on a scale of the volume of Clear Creek is massive, and you take the volume of the pond out, it's just not enough to bring the water surface down, right? And so it kind of makes sense. It's a preliminary sizing, and we haven't mitigated it yet. And there's some possible issues with connecting that pond to the creek since it's so far off. So we went ahead and looked at the next alternative, which is a conveyance and storage alternative. It's also not mitigated, but you can see the impacts are small and the benefits are much better. So this is a way better solution. This one we were pretty excited about. We also did like a quick analysis of structures, which you can see on the map, and we checked that out. So if you're good. There are reductions in structures, but again, we'll have to mitigate. So when you go in and you do your iterations to mitigate so that you have no impacts, you don't get quite those benefits. It's going to suck some of those benefits away, if that makes sense. So we will work on that, but moving forward, what we're thinking the next best step would be to let Scott do some more detailed work and like some preliminary grading, check to see some of the right of way in between. I think the city of Friendswood has, if I recall correctly. And then there's some utilities and things like that. So in addition to, are there benefits, which is the first question we answered, the next question to answer is, what is this going to cost, right? And you have to work out a bunch of those details to know what that cost might be. So our suggestion is that we should work on that next. Another thought that we had is that, you guys have a lot of really good things going on. The city of Friendswood just finished clearing Deepwood. There's some opportunities around Howard, we know, and we really think that looking at some regional solutions might mean that you have better results to keep those benefits. That makes sense. So looking at it more holistically, which I think the district has talked about a lot and is really your plan, is really what we recommend moving forward as well. So mitigating outside of the project area might mean that you get to keep more of those project benefits. I talk fast, so feel free to ask questions. Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any idea what size offline detention pond you would need to mitigate?
And it depends on where you put it. So if we dig in the project area, I don't know the answer honestly, like in acre feet. I think it's gonna highly depend on the timing of where the tributaries come in, which is a complicated engineering analysis, as you know. So I don't know the answer to that, honestly.
Hey, Liz,
Yes,
talk about the complications of digging these ponds deep into the floodplain, because that's where I've talked to Harris County Flood Control a lot with their engineers and Scott Elmer about how hard it is to dig these ponds deep in the floodplain and to get benefits. Would you kind of tell the public about that?
Sure, yeah, I can tell you all about that. We do this all the time for flood control and Scott as well. So if you think, I always go to my bathtub analogy because everybody understands bathtub, right? So the floodplain is a storage area and it holds water and it holds a volume of water, right? And when you're deep in the floodplain, like let's say you already have multiple feet, you're digging out, but it's already below that water surface. It kind of just washes out. It's the concept of I have this bathtub and I take a cup of water out of it. Well, you took volume out and that's awesome. But you don't notice how much the water in your tub sinks, right? You got to take lots of buckets out before that happens. And so unless you have a massive plot of land, then it's not always the most effective way to use it. That's why we went to the second alternative that had that big bench cut, because you have conveyance in that. One of the standard engineering ways to lower water surface is to make a conveyance improvement and then put in detention to hold it back and offset so there are no impacts moving forward, if that makes sense.
Totally. And the thing about it is it doesn't, you hear all this, everybody's hearing all this talk about this and you got to do this, convey this. There's no standardization of that, number one. But number two is anything y'all study has to show no negative impacts downstream. Any project we do is going to have to show that anyway. So this hypothetical about you got to do this, that no. What you have to do is you have to do projects that make sense, that spends y'all's money and doesn't show negative impacts downstream. That's why regional solutions and dealing with the Corps at a bigger level, everybody bearing the hatchet and coming together and working together regionally is so important, because when you're deep in the floodplain, it's difficult. Okay, it is difficult. I'm telling you again, it's making oxygen on the backside of Mars in a permanent space station. It gets to be a problem and you can't argue about it, because we're in a bad situation on the coast here in Galveston, Texas, Galveston County, where we have development going on. Nobody's anti-development, but you got to use your noodle and you got to figure out how you're going to get this water away from people's structures. It's not easy. There's a lot of cooks in the kitchen, but that's the long and short of it. Doing stuff deep in the floodplain is tough, and digging holes, as you said, when you're already at low mean sea level, isn't accomplishing anything.
Is that any other
Question,
questions?
Jim?
I do.
No, wait,
Oh, please.
well, this is a good project. What we need to do is move it along.
Well, I think that
Combine it with two other projects.
I think that's what Scott and her are going to decide on, taking scenario number 2 and moving forward from there. And also seeing about how it fits in with maybe a more advanced regional solution. Just
Right.
what she said.
Off the top of my head, from the modeling I've done in the area, you're gonna need a minimum sized offline detention pond of 200 to 250 acre feet to mitigate 0.04 feet. It could be bigger.
It could be bigger. What we were looking to was property further downstream. So all these tributaries come in, and as you know, every time one comes in, it drops a massive quantity of water, right? So if you add them up, like if they peak at the same time as Clear Creek, so the Clear Creek's at its max level and the tributary comes in, it will make it spike, right? Because it's got all this water coming in when it's at its max level. So what we were really wanting to look at is whether detention on Coward or some other downstream tributary would hold that water back, so that we change the timing so that it no longer hits when Clear Creek is peaking, but it hits a different spot, so then it has less of an impact, if that makes sense. So we're hoping that we can look at that. But again, that's a super complicated concept, so I don't know if I explained it very well. Does it make sense?
You're changing the timing of when that water hits.
Yeah, the timing of when that water hits it can have a big effect.
Does the board, before we get to stats, does the board have any other Jason, do you have a question, or Kim or Dave?
She speaks at my speed. I'm good.
Too fast, sorry.
No.
Staff questions?
I do. So, my main thing is that it costs money to get to the point where we have data.
Mhm.
Do you know off the top of your head, I mean, I know the numbers, but do you know off the top of your head how much we've spent thus far studying this project and how much it would cost to get to a point where we know how much it would cost to do this?
I don't know.
Better Scott question.
And the estimated numbers I have are about $300,000 just to get to a point where we know how much it costs to do the project.
Most likely that would be the
That
cost.
sounds about right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that sounds pretty average for a study.
So people should know that it costs money to even figure out if things have a benefit. Which is
Absolutely.
why sometimes people build without doing studies like this. But as we've seen, for example, if we go back to alternative one, building without having the data can also have a negative impact. Is that correct? Yeah. So which is
Yeah,
why it's so important for us to make decisions about cost benefit analysis, things that make money, or things that make sense for the money.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Another thing to keep in mind is that we do have plans to look at doing a master drainage plan on Clear Creek. We're gonna be putting the RFP out here for Dickinson Bayou soon, but looking at, various projects together is something that it might make more sense to wait and look at it then.
Well, in addition, it's a new master drainage plan. Our last
It's gonna be a new,
yeah.
it'll be a new master drainage plan, but we're planning on looking at like 10 to 12 different project alternatives as part of that.
Our last adopted master drainage plan is as old as I am. And a lot has changed as far as development since 1992.
Development, rainfall, modeling technique.
100%. So which is also why, yeah, that's also why the district is in favor of updating our master drainage plan, like Samantha said.
We fully support that.
Scott? So we can move on to Josh. Any questions for Liz?
Good. Liz and I talked weekly about this, and about the alternatives and how to move forward. So, our fear really is for alternate two, when they go to mitigate the impacts, are we actually going to see the half a foot benefit 5 year or the 4 inches at the 100 year, right? So that's all our concern. So, we'll talk about it later, staff meetings, and figure out how to proceed, or if we want to look at incorporating deep wood, see if we could negate the impacts, in that project, and then they kind of float on each other.
I guess a question for the board is, do you want to see the next step proposal of what it takes to figure out the costs to both do the alternative to benching and mitigation?
All right, Liz, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate you.
All
Thanks.
right. Let's go to B, Friendswood Police Department Chief Josh Rogers' presentation on drone capabilities. The reason we're having this is, and Josh, you can brag about, I want you to talk a little bit about just your coverage and your drone docking stations for the folks, because they're interested in that. But when it comes to flooding mitigation and what we want to look at, and this is for Scott, directed at Scott, is what type of drone would he be looking at to effectively map our creeks, drainage ditches, our tributaries, et cetera? Would you introduce yourself, please, sir?
Hello, I'm Officer Millen, Friendswood Police Department. I've been here about 6 years.
Drone pilot?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So I'm Chief Josh Rogers. I've been with the city for going on 28 years, I think, 27 years, 28 years. Friendswood graduate. My wife has taught, just retired 29 years in FISD, both kids, full 12 years. So I got a little bit of history here at the police department and then with the city. And you guys know that what we're trying constantly to do is just to keep that crime rate at the lowest possible crime rate. We don't probably do enough presentations where we present crime rate compared to other cities. But just know that we have the lowest crime rate, and there's not anyone in a close second. All right, so we're always looking for areas to leverage technology, not being too quick on the draw with some stuff though, letting some things play out a little bit before we get into that. And then just good old fashioned hard work from the proper, with the proper funding and the proper support that we've had with city council over really the whole time I've been here. One of the things that came up, we've been doing these drones since 2018 in a much smaller capacity than what we're talking about. What we'll talk about here in a few minutes is the drone as a first responder program. But what we were doing from 2018 is we would go out to a scene. Typically, it would be an accident scene, and we would pull the drone out of the trunk of the car, and we would fly that drone on a fatality accident. So a fatality accident scene, we would be required by state to do a 2-scale drawing. And when I first started, that roadway would be shut down probably for about 3 hours. Because we didn't have long enough tape measures to measure out. Then we got rollers, then we got LiDAR and GPS capability where we were marking all of it. All of it still, even as quickly as we got it, was about an hour to turn that scene around. Until we were able to leverage the drone technology in 2018. But these guys could go out there, they would launch the drone up about 100 to 150 feet, and they would start mapping that fatality accident scene before really even the wreckers were gone. Prior to that, aerial photos and things like that were accomplished by calling the fire department. We know what that brings when you call the fire department. They bring all their friends and all of their toys out, and it's a pretty big show. And then we would climb up the top of that ladder, and then being that it's firemen and police officers, somebody would mess with the joystick, and we'd be, felt like 1,000 feet in the air and bouncing around while we're trying to take pictures of the crime scene. Now in 2018, what that was able to do, we were able to fly that scene and take photos and 2-scale drawings to the technology now to where it's down to probably centimeters is the correct distance. So we came a long way from measuring out how far the skid marks was from a tape measure and different things like that. So that was our program up until about a year ago, where we would just take the drone out, crime scene, same thing. We would map crime scenes, photo crime scenes. And we did it for a little bit of search and rescue, but not really lost kid maybe down by the creek. We would fly the drone down there and try to locate them. Fast forward to now, we're looking at a drone and first responder program. And what that program is going to do, it's going to automatically launch a drone when the call comes into our 911 station. And it'll fly with GPS coordinates to the location. We're looking at 52 seconds from the time they receive that 911 call to the time the drone is overhead at the accident to clear out the call. We can cover the city. We've always had, since 2018, we've had the certificate of authority, basically, a COA, 2 different COAs. We've always had those to fly those drones. Under the COA, we didn't have to have, we could train our own pilots, but we went a step further. And you can't just come in and say you want to fly a drone and then you fly a drone here. So Part 107, Rusty knows it from his pilot. You got to study a little bit. You can't just wing it. So they're all Part 107 certified. We had those COAs in place. And now what we have in place is we went out and asked for another waiver from the FAA to fly beyond visual line of sight, VLOS, they call it. Again, it's not earth shattering. There's been other agencies that are doing it. Probably our area, Pearland is probably doing it. The best Memorial Villages is doing some real good stuff with it too. And then California is ahead of the game in some of their areas, what they're doing. But when that 911 call comes in, we've got 12 operators, or we got 12 that are Part 107 certified. Brad is one of them that we would trust to fly beyond visual line of sight, because some of them we wouldn't. So they're fine pulling it out of the trunk while it goes up 50 feet, 100 feet. They fly it to map out. They're good doing that. Beyond visual line of sight is a whole different ballgame. So right now, Brad is one of them, and Scott Muir, a sergeant, is the second one that we have that are available to do that. But as soon as that call comes in, they'll hear that 911 call. Our dispatchers may not even enter the address in. I'm getting robbed at HED. He sent dispatches getting some basic information. Brad hears a call on 911, knows that that's the 700 block of West Park, punches that in. And before dispatch has probably even entered that call to an officer, the drone is overhead capturing what it needs to capture there. And what that's going to do is that's going to lower our crime rate a little bit lower than what it already is. And when I took over, when I took over and Chief Wieners had retired, I said, there's no place, but I wanted to set the tone straight with the council. There's no place for the crime rate to go but up. We cannot get it any lower. All right. We are absolutely destroying the crime rate, unlike other cities that are completely surrounded by us. But we can do these things to probably just put a little edge on it and get it down just a little bit further. But that drone will fly out. We want 3 docks, maybe 4 docks total. First dock will be on the PD building. That'll fly out 2 miles. 2 miles a circle. So imagine a circle to cover the city about 95%. We would need 3 to 4 docks. We've been in contact because we have an airstrip here. Rusty's near and dear to that because he flies out of there all the time. So we've had our first meeting, which kind of, got this going here, but we're in conversation with Holly Ranch pilots. Because we know that, where they're at, they're coming in and out is kind of a hot little area, for us with the HEB and the different areas there for our response. So it will not be flown until those guys are comfortable out there at the HOA, the pilots are comfortable. We're going to even take them up on the offer and go up. Brad and I will go up and they'll fly so we can make sure, hey, we see it on paper. We're in the plane. We see exactly what y'all are talking about here. And they will sit down and they will agree because we won't put one in the air until they agree that that's safe, because we do not want any type of, accidents at all with them. But they were good enough to know that this is something that we can leverage and make the place just a little bit better and a little bit safer, because that's constantly what we're doing. So we would be happy to talk, even off record, on the drones. The ones we have are DJI. We're completely transparent about that. The docks are going to be DJI docks, which is, China, comes from China. And so we had to play out the tariff thing and all that until we made the decision on these things. But there is certainly, if y'all are ones and twosies buying drones, you could probably get away with some of the American-made drones. You're going to pay 3 to 4 times the amount, and the technology is not going to be probably where it is just yet. DJI stuff. We would be more than happy to help you guys out. I think it would be extremely beneficial to really get some pinpoint accuracy on the creeks and all the stuff that y'all are doing with the land and trying to make sure that the water goes, not inside folks' houses. So I think it'd really be good. I think it will be good, and we'd be happy.
Before we get into that, Scott might have some questions on that, but talk about the efficiencies that you told us about the pilots about when y'all went for 2 miles and 200 feet versus the 4 miles and 400 feet. And talk about how much y'all save the taxpayers and money from and what your needs were. And also, last thing, talk about your pilot station and your facility.
Okay.
And what it's like and what you are doing in that facility.
Okay. So I'll start with that real quick first, and I'll let Brad kind of talk about the specifics as far as the 200 feet versus the 400 feet, because those are different waivers. 200 feet, just to tell you, if we did this on our own, it's 200 feet, it's $200,000 a year to fly this drone from outside companies. And there's plenty of agencies that do that. $200,000 a year to fly drones below 200 feet. 400 feet and above, you're looking at about $400,000 a year. I'll let him talk just a second on that. But while we're on the whole idea that a lot of these agencies are doing is, we talked about him receiving the 911 call first with headphones. He's going to be flying it indoors with a controller, but and he's not going to be seeing it other than what's on his screen. But that FAA has come out, and they've done some agencies around here where they want basically a sterile cockpit. And Rusty probably understands this. You don't want a whole lot. You don't really want a party going on in the cockpit while you're flying. In other words, so we don't need a party going on in the building over there. And sometimes there is, depending on where they're at in the building. So they're going to have a room designated, set up where it's only going to be the pilot. If we ever add anyone, we would add a dispatcher in there. Right now, we've been able to intercept the 911 calls and have Brad listen to them directly. So only one's going to be in that room is the pilots for a sterile cockpit. So there's not any distractions, obviously, going on in there. Monitors, big screen TVs, 100 inch, a little bit bigger than what y'all got here, Rusty. Maybe y'all can step it up. Those look like about 85, maybe 80. But 100 on one and a 55 on the other. And so we'll be monitoring the weather. We'll be monitoring cameras. We'll be monitoring the drone. We'll be monitoring our CAD and RMS screens as that information comes up. But a sterile cockpit set up in one room designated to fly the drone. This drone will be on the dock. Okay, this drone will be on the dock at the PD. Brad could be in Montana and fly the drone to a scene from the PD. Doesn't need to be on the PD. That's where this technology, that's how far this technology has come up. Doesn't matter where you're at. Remember, beyond visual line of sight. So he can be anywhere that he has internet access, and he can control and he can fly the dock around for us. You want to talk a little bit about the 200 feet versus the 400 feet?
So when it comes to the waiver that we've received for beyond visual line of sight is an under 200 foot and within 2 mile radius of where our docking station is. So to kind of put that in perspective, from the PD where the dock is stationed, we'll be able to get out to right about the edge of Stevenson Park, Clear Creek Bridge. Going back, we'll be able to get down to Championship, just shy of animal control kind of locations. We can reach 20 through 51 at about sunset, and then we can get all the way to the League City border down Friendswood Parkway. So that's kind of a rough idea of what that is. But the 200 foot below, they just require the onboard computers that the drone itself has to avoid, has obstacle avoidance built in, different AI technologies to avoid planes. It has ADS-B being ran through it, which is the, you might be able to better explain it, but it's kind of like a little black box in the planes that tells everybody where they're at. From 200 to 400 foot, you have to have independent radars installed throughout your city, which can cost anywhere from $125,000 to $300,000+ for the radar itself. Then you generally have to pay $50,000 to $100,000 for a subscription fee to use that radar, and that's a yearly reoccurring subscription fee. So that's why we opted for the 200 foot and below. Saves the city a lot of money, saves the taxpayers a lot of money, and there's not a huge benefit from being at 400 feet. Between 200 and 400 feet for most of our operations, 200 is going to be just fine. If we need to go higher than that for any kind of reason, we'll have somebody on scene within a minute or two. They'll have a drone potentially in their vehicle, and then they can fly line of sight up to 400 feet under the Part 107, as long as they're not in controlled airspace that requires them to fly low.
And I'll clarify, we're not paying 200,000 per year. What we opted to do was purchase our software independently, American-made software out of Austin, DroneSense. And then we purchase our drones and we purchase our docks ourselves. And then we install our equipment ourselves. So those docks, when we add each dock, we're looking at probably about $30,000 to $40,000 to add the additional dock. We're paying up front about $7,000 to $11,000 per year to keep that software up and going. And then we own the actual drone. The drone technology changes a lot. So, the one we just purchased, the M400, is probably 20,000. And you want to talk about the cameras? Probably a $20,000 drone.
So one of the drones that we just purchased, it's about 20,000 once you include the drone price, the camera price, and all the accessories needed to include the batteries. The camera capabilities for the dock drone and the M400 are both. Once you see it, you'd be amazed. We can fly the drone here. We can see downtown. You can see the skyscrapers. You can see Reliant. They have a 400 times optical or digital zoom, and then they have like a 40 times optical zoom, depending on which one you're using. They both have onboard IR FLIR built in, which is like a thermal imaging that allows us to detect hotspots for fires. We've flown them for many different fires to detect hotspots for them. That's good at finding people hiding in the woods or people who are lost in the woods. We can track them with that. So that camera technology has drastically changed over the last 6 years, and it'll continue to get better as technology continues to advance. Things will get smaller, but better at the same time.
These guys like to fly below the 200 feet with the camera technology that he's talking about is plenty good enough. We can put up about 150, 175 feet here, and we can read license plates. Here you go. From 518 to 528, from 150 feet in the back parking lot. So the technology is there, even to stay out of Rusty's in them way. We can do that by that Zoom technology. Yes, sir.
Chief Rogers mentioned that waivers. Now, the type of drones that I can go buy at any store or whatever, when I get within so close of a restricted area, like Cloverfield, it will not allow my drone to go there. Are our drones capable of flying into those restricted areas?
Yes. So DJI actually, I think it was about 6 months to a year ago, they used to have that restriction where you had to have certain clearances, being our COA, so our certificate of authorization from the FAA, or now they call it a COW, it's certificate of waiver. Those are two different authorizations directly from the FAA, apart from our 107. that allow us to fly, that allows the city to have pilots and us to fly commercially. But if you, prior to about a year ago, you needed those to get that clearance. Now you no longer need that clearance. They call them enhanced flight zones. So if you buy a DJI drone right now, as long as you've done all your updates on it, you could technically fly in those areas because DJI is no longer responsible for stopping people from flying there. It was a decision made with national security administrations to stop regulating where people can fly their drones because you had to go through China for that regulation or that approval. So they did away with that. So any DJI drone, any American-made drone is no longer going to stop you from flying into those. It's just going to give you a bunch of warnings or alerts. And that's where the FAA's federal air marshals will step in and they can track down where your drone is and where your pilot is.
That's a moving target, Robert. I'm just gonna tell you right now. That's a moving issue with those pilots. That's a moving target you're talking about. So we're not done talking about that.
I was just wondering, Poly Ranch has to get comfortable with it too. But we also had unidentified drones flying in areas across the nation in restricted zones that I was just, knew my drones couldn't do it.
Yeah, so every new drone nowadays has a transmitter with remote ID installed in them by the factory, and it's not a removable thing.
Okay.
Older drones, you're required by the FAA to install them on your drone, but it's removable. Every new drone for the last probably 4 years, 3 or 4 years, has had to have them built in. So there is a transmitter inside of the drone if it's that new that the federal air marshals are able to see. They have apps and different things where that's being sent, just like ADSB is being sent out to everybody to see. There is a version of that for drones where you can see where the pilot's transmitting from and you can see where the drone is.
Yep.
Another safety thing we're going to do as part of our DFR is creating a geofence around different airports and their landing and takeoff areas that will prevent our drones from flying into those spaces.
And Chief, just again, the response time now versus old dispatch and getting our vehicles in place, our response now has been cut to what?
So priority one, we have priority 1, 2, and 3. 1's the worst. We're already too late getting there. It's already happened. 2 is kind of in between, and then 3, hey, you just need a report because somebody knocked over your mailbox. So our priority 1 calls, we're still under the national average for our response times. But as traffic gets around here, and those are a challenge for us. So we don't want dispatch holding that call. We want dispatch putting that out quickly as fast as they can because we need to get there. So we'll knock down probably a 3-minute to a 4-minute response to 52 seconds. The Dock 3 is the fastest dock that's out there. There's not very many of them. Pearland still has Dock 1s, and that's about 1 minute to 1 minute and 20 before they can get that thing launched. This one's much faster. So we're hoping to get anywhere in the city within 52 seconds. HEB would be a lot faster just because of the flight there being short and some of our hard priority, but we'll look at maximizing our hottest spot areas and getting those drones in there, but it's a game changer.
Yeah, I was excited to hear that.
And if you could, Chief, I know Scott's gonna be contacting you. I know we're gonna go over there and take a look, but if you could get with Scott about the specs of, we don't need to be red license plates from 175 feet to be effective. I remember.
We need some good mapping software.
Yeah, I can remember when FLIR came out for airplanes way back in the day. It was a big deal, but we need something that is the least expensive way that we can do our job here at the district to map these creeks and just assist the barge when it comes out and other things for Randy to effectively take care of the district. So we don't need anything sophisticated as that, but I thought it was a good opportunity for you to deal with the public and to let them know, to brag a little bit about the capabilities of and the response time that is for everybody in Friendswood. That's incredible. He told us at the pod race the other night, that's what hit home. 52 seconds. They're on the scene, hovering, and they're waiting for their officers to get there. So anything happens in between there, they got it on video.
Makes me think about those police chases that have ended in Friendswood, like the one that Justin West and they were involved with that ended up, and they ran through the neighborhoods. Your drone would already be waiting for them to come into Friendswood. You're watching them as they go through Friendswood. Then as they scatter, there's not a manhunt. It's not Waldo's. Waldo's right there. But, that's where we're going.
Yeah, and to simplify that even a little bit more, we had one the other day when we were testing out the system. We had a vicious dog. We just followed the vicious dog. We told the lady, don't keep trying to grab the dog. Just go away. We got the dog on the drone, and we'll just follow the dog, around on the drone, and then we'll send the officers in there to get the dog from there. Pick up the dog. So same thing. Yeah, not everyone rushing there. Hey, we got him on camera. we can fly these things that when we have the overlay, that drone can come back. It's about 25-minute flight time on the batteries, but the overlay will be good because what we'll do is we'll put another one up and then we'll send the other one back home to redock. We can also land it on scene if there's another pilot that has batteries and you can go ahead and load the drone up and get it back in there. Yeah, that's a good point. It's gonna save some a rushing to get there. Because a lot of times, unfortunately, when we get there, it's never what it really appeared to be over the phone. And we've really driven fast, getting there late, had sent the fire department out when it wasn't as bad of an accident. Hey, everybody's out of the car walking around. They're telling us, hey, there's 6 people trapped. None of them got any legs left. And, they're not with us anymore. We get out there, hey, it's a little fender bender and, everybody's walking around. We can show that and we can tell everybody, hey, calm down. It's not a code 1 call. We'll just fill out the accident report and move on. Everybody's good.
Last thing, tell them about the difference between battery life, and this is a little technical deal of chasing versus hovering, what the difference is in that battery life.
Yeah, so obviously the drone takes a lot of things in consideration with its operating system. So it considers wind speed and everything like that. So our Dock 4 drone that we're going to be using for this dock and drone as first responder has about a 35 to 40 minute battery life, depending on wind. So if we have strong winds, it can fly at up to about 35-mile-an-hour winds. So if we're in 35-mile-an-hour winds, it's going to drain the batteries a lot more trying to stabilize the drone. It's the same thing with flying out to something. It uses a little less battery to hover than it does to fly, just because of all the forward propulsion that it needs to fly at the different speeds, since they can do in the ballpark of 25 to 35 miles an hour. Some of them are even faster than that. So once we get on scene for most of these calls, we could probably stay on scene for about 30 to 33 minutes, was about the average I was seeing whenever I was doing the testing for us earlier in the year. And as battery technology increases, the longer they can stay up. And then one of our newer drones now has close to an hour battery life while carrying a couple different payloads.
The last thing, quickly, size. You'll talk about your drone sizes quickly and why the different sizes.
So we have our large M400, which was just under the oaks. It's a very large drone. It can carry up to 13 pounds. It can hold multiple payloads to include a spotlight, a large camera, sensor that has thermal and all that stuff in there. Speaker combos. It can also be used to drop payloads if we needed to drop things.
Life jackets.
Life jackets over water, things like that can be dropped out there into the lake. The dock drone itself is actually relatively small, probably about EA big compared to the M400, which is probably about this big if you don't include the props. So that's just the arms extended. Different sizes, different measures, but the dock drone being relatively small should also keep noise pollution and things like that down compared to some of the bigger drones.
A quick question.
Yes, sir.
I love it. It's amazing. What's the weather benefit? You have IR. Can you fly at IFR? You have IR, right? Infrared. So can you fly at IFR? In other words, what are the weather benefits?
He's a pilot, so can you pilot in bad weather? There's fog.
Yeah,
So there's
a foggy. If you're a quarter-mile vinds here, can you fly?
So we still have to follow the rules of 500 foot below cloud ceiling. So if that's one of our things that we have up on the mini monitors, is going to be a cloud ceiling monitor along with weather. So we still are supposed to have, I believe it's 3 statute miles of visibility. So the answer will probably be no. If it's super, super bad weather, super foggy, we'll probably restrain from flying at least beyond visual line of sight to some of these calls.
Transparency for the cameras. Same with these things. We hit our lights. We're recording cameras all the way to the HUD. Same thing holds true with that. Unlike the cameras on our body and in the vehicles, those have to be held for 90 days. This drone technology with the camera stuff is being, it's being sent back to us non-recorded. It's recorded on the drone itself. And if it's not part of a criminal offense, we cannot legally keep that. So there'll be no open records request for drone footage and things like that, because we're not going to have it unless it's part of a case. And then that's going to be very difficult when you go through open records to get, active or even cases that have already been cleared. That's difficult to get. So the same rules apply with everything else. We're very, some probably wouldn't like the whole transparency piece, but we don't release a whole lot of information.
Y'all using it now?
We are using it at a limited basis right now, more or less, flying it. We're not doing the first responder stuff. No, sir. It's more of a popping it out of the trunk and, using it on different types of scenes. We did do a trial period, from the PD with the DFR.
But that was all visual line of sight. So when we did the trial, the trial here, it was all visual line of sight. It was much more limited, probably about half a mile with me on the roof, flying as far out as I could see it, and then bringing it back, monitoring. We had a second person on the roof with us monitoring things. We were still maintaining our height altitudes there.
We didn't have the waiver yet.
And the state of Texas also, to kind of piggyback off the video, they have very, very stringent rules on what is allowed to be recorded with a drone. So that's why it's actually illegal for us to keep footage if it does not fall underneath the allowed recording. So that's kind of piggybacking off what he's saying is the drone will record on the physical drone's SD card, but as soon as it returns, if it's not part of, or it doesn't fall into one of the categories that the state of Texas says we're allowed to record, that immediately has to be destroyed.
You go direct to the scene or do you have to follow the correct?
Direct.
You don't have to follow the roadway.
GPS technology that'll do the shortest path to it.
The only thing that would restrict us from going directly to
If we
the scene is if we set it or if we're flying around, in or around Poly Ranch or over near Pearland. If we have it geofenced, we may have to go, lower to go around or launch dock on the other side of that geofenced area to prevent from flying across that area.
Does it have some kind of mechanism? If you lose control of it, it's got to
Yes.
come back home?
Yeah, so all of the newer drones from DJI all have a return to home feature. So if it ever loses, it's a lost connection feature. So if it ever loses connection completely to the controller, it will automatically go to a set determined height and then return home and use the obstacle avoidance that's built in, because it has a LiDAR built into it to avoid different obstacles coming back all the way down to a power line.
And it'll tell us, hey, you gotta get back, it's getting close. You can ignore it. Hey, you need to get it back, it's getting like really, really close. You can ignore it again. We tried it. Hey, we're fixing to crash. Hit it now, ignore it. And then what it does is it safely lands itself.
Okay.
And hey, we're done talking to you. Now we're just gonna land ourselves safely. And, we tested that feature out all the way until we kept hitting the ignore button. You would have to purposely want to do that.
I've already opened it up
Great
for
tool.
questions about here, so I'll do it one more time. Let's have a couple more. Let's move on. Go ahead, Larry.
Chief, when do you think you'll deploy this for the 911 calls?
So the dock is in there. The office is just about built. We did all that we could do, legally under code. Scott and I hooking the electricity up on the top of the roof. So our electrician will be in at 7:45 in the morning to finish the run for us. We'll install the dock probably this week, and we'll have the software company in next week. So we hope in the next 2 weeks, at least in this 2-mile radius, we'll be answering 911 calls with
Will
it.
you put out a Friendswood bulletin or an announcement?
Yeah, we've been doing a little bit of it.
I've seen them.
Yep, we've been putting out a little bit of it. We'll definitely pick it up once we get close. Our first step really will be to make sure, since that's going to be in direct path to Poly Ranch, that's the only thing that could set us back a little bit, is we want to make sure everyone's comfortable over there, and we'll take as much time as possible, because it's not a race to deploy. So we're going to make sure we do it right, completely right from the beginning. And everybody that's over there flying out of there is going to know what we're doing, where it's at, and comfortable with it. So I say 2 weeks, that may take a little bit longer, just going through the, everything with those guys over there at Poly Ranch. But
Last question.
How difficult was it for your department to get the waiver from the Department of Information to be able to buy DJI products?
yeah, so we saved about $10,000 because we wrote our own. So we know exactly what's in that waiver. They've gotten a lot, to answer your question, they've gotten a lot friendlier, FAA, with the drones. So the process, I wrote the first 2 in 2018. It took me probably 3 to 4 months to write them. There's go-bys now that you can use. And then this one, beyond visual line of sight, took us about a month.
Yeah.
About a month.
Maybe specifically so the 88th legislator in 2023 banned the purchase of DJI products for government entities unless you're a law enforcement agency with a specific waiver. How long did it take to get that waiver?
We didn't have to because of this recent, that's what we were waiting on, was some of the laws that were in place. to not allow us, to see if if it was gonna affect local police departments.
Because y'all could do it,
Everyone,
but entities like us can't necessarily collect DJI.
maybe so because of some of those rules.
Yeah.
But that was some stuff that we thought we were looking at real close this last time in legislation that was gonna kind of shut down DJI.
Yeah.
A lot of the American-made drone companies were the one lobbying for that. But that didn't get passed through. So, most law enforcement agencies, well over 90%, I would say around here are all DJI.
Most of the law enforcement agencies that are using American-made drones are being sponsored by said American-made drones just because the cost is so great. And the backlog to get any kind of financial assistance from the government to purchase these drones is pretty backlogged. There's not many grants out there right now. And most of them are on a 3 to 5 year turnaround for the grant.
Yeah.
To slowly give them money to purchase and wash out their DJI stock and bring in the American-made stuff.
Josh, Officer Mellon, thank you. I knew this would be a popular segment. Weather and aviation is good stuff.
Yep.
We can have them back sometime if y'all like this stuff. I think it's excellent. And thank y'all for everything. Thanks for being good neighbors too.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes, sir. Like the sign up front.
Okay.
Thank you.
Please.
Y'all, thank you.
Okay, discussion and action items. Approve or deny the drainage impact analysis for Wilderness Trail subdivision, G 240023. This study analyzed the impact of development and proposed drainage of the 41.52 acre residential development. The proposed development consists of 27.29 acres of residential development, 3.9 acres of drainage infrastructure, and 3.34 acres of pipeline easement that will be improved but not developed. Proposed drainage plans consist of 2 separate drainage systems, one for residential development and one for the proposed Friendswood Parkway roadway. Both systems convey stormwater runoff to a series of detention ponds, which outfalls to the south into Chigger Creek. Again, Fleming's has reviewed the H&H models and has provided their approval. We received a letter of no objection from the city of Friendswood. The district engineer finds a submitted drainage impact analysis is consistent with the district's criteria manual. Do I have a motion to discuss?
Second.
Scott?
Sir, so we've been going back and forth since January on this with the developer and some in-depth reviews, right? Their first round of reviews, they have some pretty good amount of adjusting to do on the DIA, but it is set up to meet the district's criteria. So again, it's conceptual. But it does show the amount of attention that's going to be required to offset their impacts. As far as any concerns on sheet flow analysis, things like that, that will be reviewed when the construction plans come in. They'll have to take all that in consideration with their grading and make sure they're not blocking any historic sheet flows, and that they're directing the internal sheet flow patterns when the underground storm becomes overcapacitated to their detention pond, and then from their detention pond to the creek, and not having a negative impact on surrounding properties. So as it states in the agenda item, there are 2 separate ponds. One is for the parkway and the other is to service the residential development.
Questions? Jim? David? No. Jason?
If you could speak to some of the concerns that were mentioned a little more, as far
So
as
again,
the concern of tying into this, which leads to that, which leads to that. To really narrow.
Yeah, so the main concern I heard from Mr. Johnson was the sheet flow that's currently going to the roadside ditch on Wilderness. Again, all these lots should be type A drainage. They should drain to the roadways and then ultimately underground and into the detention pond. And when that underground storm becomes overcapacitated, then it will have a sheet flow pattern to their detention pond. So it should not, other than a small transition back to the roadside ditch due to the elevation, there shouldn't be any impact.
Hey, Scott, explain to the public that's here what are the next steps? This is in no way a final
Correct.
drainage plan. Explain the steps that are to come for the Wilderness Trail development.
So any project I believe over 26 acres in Galveston County Consolidated Drainage District now requires a full drainage impact analysis. That has to be in place before we will approve any preliminary construction plans or drainage plans, and then ultimately the final drainage plan. So this is the first step. They still have to run the process for plan approval. Can I wave at the camera? There you go.
Questions? So this is step one of a process that will be coming. Why has this taken so long? And is it normal for neighborhoods in Friendswood to take this long to get the plans even to this position?
So yes, this is about a normal process as far as the length of the plan. It's pertinent that before you start any kind of construction, that you're way out ahead of that with your drainage impact analysis and your construction plans. I'd say it is about a 6-month process, 3 to 6 month process, depending on how quickly the engineer that's submitting the DIA can turn around the comments. Again, the first drainage impact analysis, they provided one, but they did not provide an H&H analysis. Obviously, that was a big question that took a little while for them to develop and get back in and modify the reporting.
Have you in any way held them up on the Q&A back and forth? Anything that's out of the ordinary for anybody?
Not to my knowledge. Definitely understand the implications, working on the private side quite a bit and developing or working on subdivision designs, how pertinent it is to have quick reviews and get it back and coordinate with them. So I take that personally whenever I'm on the public side reviewing things. I try to be cognizant of those things.
And they were very aware of the next steps going forward to get a path towards final drainage approval. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. I'm going to make a motion to approve the initial drainage impact analysis. So I'll second.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. All righty. Thank you, Scott. Let's move to B. Approve or deny detention plans for Legacy Phase 1, a development process consisting of their Phase 1 detention system for development. This phase includes Pond C10, incorporating Lake A, Lake C, and the portion of detention of West Boulevard. The proposed plans are consistent with the Galveston County Consolidated Drainage District approval, direct drainage impact analysis for the development, and after review, staff believes the plans are consistent with the district's criteria manual. Motion to discuss?
Motion.
Second. Anything out of the ordinary on this?
Those. So it just other than just this was under the interlocal agreement with Lake City. So the only thing that the district is reviewing and approving at this point is the outfall tie-ins into our facility. Again, we didn't make them. We had them summarize what this project was servicing so that we can keep track of that as well.
Jim, have you seen this on paper? Because I'm seeing it on another book. You have? Okay. So he got the paper copy.
Yes.
Okay, good. And y'all have seen this on the book, right? Okay. And there's probably, until the time of full digitization, there's probably going to be some paper floating around. So we'll make sure we harvest that for you. Yeah. Okay.
I'll grow a tree.
What's that?
I'll grow a tree.
Okay. Yeah, maybe two. All righty. Do you have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Okay.
Second.
All righty. Motion approved. Motion to second. Gerard. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Oh. Moving forward. Steve. Approve or deny a variance request to amend or waive the right of requirements. The item is a returned item from July 2025, the regular meeting agenda. The property owner at 310 Shady Creek seeks to construct a pool on the property between the residential structure and the bank of Clear Creek. Right-of-way requirements would encompass any space where a pool could be installed. The property owner requests that a right-of-way requirement be amended or waived. Do I have a motion to discuss?
Motion. Second.
On this, Scott, we had Hill up here last time and Hill answered the questions of, he was very secure with the construction of the pool and how it was going to go. Do you have anything else to add to the board before they ask you questions on this?
We asked to answer.
We got the answers.
Yeah, we asked a question. I think we asked a question that he admitted that it hadn't occurred to him to ask the question, but I mean, it really has nothing to do with us anymore. Back in, it falls back in his court.
And then Jim? Okay. Y'all know I've made a recommendation we've inherited this, to let this go, and Hill answered the structural questions. So I've been in that camp. Joseph, thanks for waiting for 1 month, but I'm gonna make a motion to approve this.
Second,
We gotta clarify,
sorry.
is the motion to waive or to amend the right of way requirements?
The motion is to waive the water requirements on this project. So I'm gonna thank you for that clarification. So my motion is to waive the right of way at 310 Shady Creek for Mr. Whittle.
Second your motion.
All those in favor? Aye. D, approve or deny regional detention request for County Road 129. Shalabin Holdings LLC comes now asking the board permission to purchase regional detention for a proposed development located along County Road 129, Fairland, Texas, 77546. Is that the zip code over there? Or is it?
That's probably one.
It's probably for 7751, whatever. This development lies in Missouri Drainage District number 4. That's Brennan's district over there for y'all. His jurisdiction. The site totals are 2.96 acres with the proposed Galveston County Consolidated Drainage District easement of 0.24 acres. And we find the total detention volume for this site to be 3.21 acre feet, with a fee to be paid to the district, that's us, of $141,240. Staff has reviewed and finds the request consistent with the criteria manual, which allows purchase of regional detention of this kind on a case-by-case basis. The staff recommends approval. Do I have a motion to discuss?
Motion to discuss.
Tell us about the outfall on this, Scott, and what, where this water is going to end up.
So let me back up one step just to clarify that the drainage easement will be dedicated to Brazoria Drainage District number 4 because it's in their jurisdiction. So
That's right.
Again, the outfall will be directly north of the Baker Road facility detention pond. So this property is basically, you have our regional pond, which is
Does everybody know where the Baker Road detention pond is? It's on by 2351 Baker Road, kind of going back northwest of the high school.
put in partnership with BED4, right, with Brazoria Drainage District number 4. Then we have the creek, and then you have this set of property between the creek and County Road 129 here, which is FM 2351, or closer to Friendswood. So,
Do you have any concerns at all? That's a good chunk of change too. That's a good chunk of change for the citizens for us to use for some bank repairs or something. But let me ask you this, do you have any concerns about the storage capabilities or us accepting the detention in that shared area?
to my knowledge, there's capacity in that pond. And if there's ever a good use or a good project to approve for regional detention, it would definitely be one that's directly across the creek or adjoining, if it met the area requirements. So.
I agree. I agree with you on that.
Good. Move to approve.
Second by Jason. All those in favor? Aye. Discussion and consideration of the purchase of vehicles to be funded by the equipment budget item 9530. That's the old one page. For vehicle replacement 9510, old budget again. Heavy equipment field superintendent item. Replacement of one long bag work truck up to $65,000. Purchase of a day cab truck up to $80,000. A purchase of a mini excavator. Remember, we talked about the pricing on those and what we want to look at. Up to $130,000 because they can be priced depending on the size. We get a purchase of a boat of up to $60,000 that if approved will come from Boat Right in Alvin. I'm hoping if the bids come in right. And a drone purchase up to $4,000, which just board, keep in mind, we could be coming back and amending that amount based on what we just heard from Josh over at the department. So if we can on this, I want to take them one at a time and just, we can talk about them one at a time. And if y'all want to petition it out and pass them one at a time, if you're all good talking about them all, passing them together,
So if someone could say move to pass A through E, if they were so inclined.
if you're so inclined. So let's just, do you have a motion to discuss?
Motion.
Second,
Questions?
are these purchases out of this year's budget or the coming year's budget?
This year's budget.
And we have funds still in the budget for that.
Yes, sir.
And I know that we have a lot, well, Randy can tell us, but 2001, a little bit older vehicles that
Yeah, we have quite a few older vehicles that, you know, they run, but they don't run well. Especially the replacement long bed that we're talking about is a 1-ton vehicle that we need. We have a 3/4 ton that's pulling it, that's gone through like 4 transmissions. It's almost 20 years old, so it's definitely a need, for sure, with the vehicle and just being up to date. Just having good AC in the vehicle is a big thing.
Any specific questions on, and I want the public to know that the taxes aren't getting raised to purchase this stuff. We have funds. It's just a matter of giving our people, replacing some old equipment. The one thing that will be new is the mini excavator, and that's from working with the city over at Lundy. We realized the need we could really, with some good operators that we've hired, we can really use a mini excavator. Everything else is going to be to operate the barge and for cabs for the people to be more effective in taking care of the district. But there's no taxes going up to purchase this stuff.
the boat will be used for evacuation during floods.
So that's a good question. So the district doesn't have for a drainage district, this is funny to me. We don't have a proper boat. We have like a 14-foot Alumacraft John boat with a 40 horsepower John. 45, excuse me, 25. So 25?
25.
Oh yeah, 25, even worse. So we're a drainage, it's like a ski team and we're freaking on a jet ski. I mean, we're going to buy a proper boat. The boat we're going to buy that I want to buy, we got to do stuff correctly and get a couple of bids to be all. But Boat Right makes a boat that Stan and Josh have, and I've been over there with Josh. They're slick. They're like game warden boats. They're aluminum boats. They're flat bottom. They're low draft, super heavy built. Go through almost anything. Engine guards. They're work boats. This isn't some pretty boat. This is a work boat. This is a boat that will work with our barge, work on smaller projects that's safe for our people. Don't tip over like a 14-foot. Y'all welcome to walk out here and look at it. But it's a proper boat for a drainage district. If anything, we probably need two, but one would be fine for now. But it will also allow us in any type of emergency situation, which we'll talk about that at some point, to work in conjunction with fire, the city, few instances now, not Stan anymore, to hopefully we don't need that, to do some rescue work. They're outstanding work boats. This is not a pretty boat. So we can make it be painted pretty blue, but it's not a pretty boat. So on that boat, Jim, that's a good question because it is a work boat. The day cab truck, if Randy wants to speak more to that, or we just want to really go through these things, but all these things are for work to help really the guys out in the field do their job better and for safety. Yes, Paige.
On the day cab, if I may note, a new one costs approximately $250,000. I'm not asking y'all for that. I'm gonna look for a gently to mediumly used day cab because it won't be like the other vehicles, excuse me, a daily use. It'll be probably more like a twice monthly use, whereas the boat is a daily use. We'll have people out on it pulling things out of the creek. We do a lot of obstruction removal. It'll be able to work independently and with the barge to do some of the snagging work, but it's definitely a workhorse.
Think of mapping an area with the drone and responding.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Well, the good thing about the little, it's not little, it's a 20-foot boat, but the good thing about that is you could put that boat, that drone right on the front, the big drone. And you could literally do, we're talking about, Josh, I'm talking this a lot of Poly Ranch. You could literally drop life jackets and just hum them out like boom, 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 boom. So let's just say worst case scenario, we had 4 people stuck in trees on the creek or stuck on rooftops. You could put that boat out there. All these boats that PD has, fire department has, and we have, those drones will fit on the front of that boat, and we could literally drop life jackets as fast as the drones and the batteries could get there. So that's in a bad situation. I hope we never have that situation. But other than that, we're just working to cut down logs, defoliage, and keep up with the creek for good flow and conveyance in the district.
What a proper boat launch.
Well, we're working on that too, an emergency boat launch. Y'all probably know about that. We're working with the city, with the city over there, with Murad and Robert and everybody else, Michael Ross, about a proper boat launch. I'm really excited about, because that's where we're gonna launch this stuff. And that's gonna be funded by the district. It's the district's original idea from way back. I walked many miles of that creek looking for the place. We have the place, but it's gonna be a boat ramp that's gonna be accessible. Shelley, I've talked to you about this. It's gonna be accessible for the state, for the feds, for the city, for the PD, and the firemen, of course, for us, to serve the citizens of Friendswood. End of story. It's a great thing. We don't have one in the city. The old Challenger 7 boat ramp where I grew up in high school is not available. If that was, we might think twice about it, but this will be a proper one for the city to get to town, for us to get to town, PD and fire to get to town, and any other federal agency that needs to be on that creek in a hurry. So I'm proud about that. We'll talk about that later.
I'm all for taking all these together.
You are? Okay, make a motion.
I move that we adopt them.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I can still sell. Ooh, no doubt. All right. F, discussion and consideration of an interlocal agreement with the city of Friendswood for coordination and cooperation during large-scale emergency response and recovery operations. What a lead in.
Motion to support.
It's a pretty straightforward page. Mike Kelly.
It's a continuation of what we've actually already been doing, but with a practical agreement. It basically says that if there is a disaster, we will work together. For example, if they needed to place a fuel tank on our property so that their emergency services could get to it, they're welcome to do so. If they use our fuel, they reimburse it. If we incur costs working with them on emergency management, they'll reimburse us for those costs with the reimbursement of funds that they get as a pool. It's a rather straightforward and something that I'm proud to offer y'all.
Yes, we are going to work with the city, both cities in our district, to save lives and help citizens.
Motion
I
to.
think it's a great idea.
Yes.
And I think it satisfies some of the items that came up in our flood mitigation plan. So I'm all for it.
Jason made a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
That's right, Jen. I was waiting for Jen to make the motion.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding. All right. G, this is a discussion and consideration of agreement with Simplicity Integration for smart water sensors. The purchase, install, maintenance, and data services. The first year, the sensors are $49,500. The yearly license fees are $265, and the yearly maintenance fees is $100. And before we talk about this, I don't think we have enough information to have a proper discussion on this. I'm going to propose that we get a presentation by Simplicity, and I think it's outstanding stuff. I think you are going to be as impressed with that as you probably are with the drone presentation of what it can do. Something I need to talk to you about. It's pretty, it's solid state. It's impressive stuff, but I don't feel like the board has seen enough on this.
I've scheduled them to do a full presentation on September meeting.
So I want to make a motion to discuss first, and then I can make a motion to table it there. So motion to discuss.
Second.
All right, let's discuss it.
Okay, I've got some wants on this. I don't know if y'all have taken the time to look at Harris County flood controls, flood warning website, but it includes about 80 flow level sensors on our side of the creek. And on even Chicker Creek on the west side of Highway 35. And they've got historical data that goes with all of them. So my want would be is that this is additive, not trying to duplicate. The second want I have is none of those proposed were in Dickinson Bible. And I feel like we need to look at that at the same time.
Yeah, one of the things we talked about, Jim, I agree with you, is it doesn't do any good to have the information if we can't get it out to everybody timely.
Correct.
And so I think that needs to be the second part of the deal. With make sure we have an effective method, not just cell phone, but some way to, get the word out.
That's one good thing about Harris County warning system. You can put your telephone number in or email, and they'll contact you when there's a flood warning. So there's a lot of things that we need to look at before we dive into this.
Sounds good to me. Anything? Jason? I agree. Will y'all add that to your criteria?
Absolutely.
Both concerns, and I think they will cover that stuff for you. And I agree, we don't need overlap at the data center. So we need to be able to integrate and augment. Yes.
Yes.
Pursuing local.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it'll be for everybody, for all the citizens of the whole city, of League City, for Dickinson Bayou. It's I agree with Jim and David too. I've told them that. And that's why I want y'all to have the presentation. It does no good if we adopt stuff that y'all can't see or can't easily. I want it to be like an iPhone. I keep telling them that. I want it to be really intuitive, even though I'm not that intuitive. I know you're not, but I want it to be intuitive. So it's easy to use.
You just send emails.
So if you'll integrate those criteria, and then we'll have a presentation and y'all can light them up.
Move to table.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Okay, discussion and consideration of a proposed ad valorem tax rate for the 2025 for calendar year October 1st, 2025 to September 30th, 2026. Do I have a motion to discuss? Second. Paige, you want to go over this?
Sure. So the important numbers that you will need to have at top of your head is the fact that last year's tax rate was 0.112. And that the tax on the average homestead last year collected was $580 per household. So my belief is your intention is to keep the actual collection of taxes on the average household flat, so a $0 raise. The data that we've gotten from the county, is that the average homestead value appears to have decreased by $17,000. Now, there could be a couple of reasons for that. The first reason could be that there's been additional households that are below that average, thus moving that median to a slightly lower by 17,000. Or it could be that the data that is calculating those averages has changed because we have moved from FISD's numbers to Galveston County's numbers, and they have different collection and calculations of them. But we're going off of what the county is using and which other 41 other entities are using. And the numbers for that is what you received in your levy calculations. So based on those assumptions, the tax rate that would keep the tax on the average household this year the same as it was last year with a $0 raise would be 0.11555. Which is about 3 1,000s higher than last year. But once again, the amount collected from each household would not be increased.
Okay, so water district, you take the median value of the home in the district. And last year that median value paid $580. And Janice, you keep square on this, $580. So last year we kept it flat with the median household paid the same. That's what we're doing again this year. We're going to keep it at $580 because that's what the median household paid last year. So remember, tax rate doesn't mean anything, people. It's what you pay. If you pay more for a carton of milk than you paid last month, that's an increase. Okay. I don't care what they tell you. So tax rate has to usually go down because valuations, assessments from the Greenwich District, from GCAD, not us. I don't want to get in that world. They're going up. Well, in our world this time, I've never seen it since I've been on the board, but for the first time, the value of the median house in the district slightly decreased. So you'll see just a super small thousandths of a 3,000ths increase in our from 0.113 basically to 0.1155. what that does, that keeps what the person with the average house in the district last year paid exactly the same. So it's 0% tax increase for 2 years in a row. And I'm sorry, I'm just gonna say it, since I've been on the board, it's gone from 27% to 8 to 1 to 0 to 0, if this board will oblige me and pass this rate. And we have enough money to do our jobs this year and to serve y'all in a very, very good way. And enough money, like Jim and I always talked about, to wait for good property to come available that makes sense for us to acquire, to mitigate flooding even further. So I'm proud to say we're going to keep it flat again, hopefully, if I can get the votes. Any other discussion?
Is this to vote for it now, or the vote that we're going to propose this rate at the public meeting?
Yeah, this is the proposed rate. And then we will have to adopt this rate at the next meeting in September.
It's a special meeting for this purpose.
No special meeting.
There's a separate public notice.
Yes.
For the public hearing aspect of it that is noticed. But tonight, you're correct. Tonight is just to propose the tax rate. And essentially, and I know that you're familiar with it because you've been on the board, but for the public who may not have known before, if we propose a tax rate, when we adopt one, we cannot adopt a higher tax rate. It can only go either at that proposed rate or lower. But that's generally how that works.
And we will have a public hearing at our next regular scheduled meeting
Yes.
that will adopt this rate after public comments. So yes, we'll have a public meeting, but it will be at our regular meeting. We won't have a special meeting because we will beat the deadline into getting our tax rate set. So this is a proposed, yeah. And if we adopt it, we cannot go any higher. We can only go lower.
We're gonna keep the homestead exemption.
Absolutely. Nothing's changing.
Unless y'all have a resolution to remove it. The exemptions that y'all have passed will stay.
I think you can move homestead exemption.
Well,
Well, let's keep on track. Let's keep on track. We're talking about tax
I
rate.
move that we propose a tax rate of 0.1155.
That's 3 5s.
2 5s or 3 5s?
0.1155.
Five.
There's 3 5s.
Okay.
3. Okay, full house.
I'd eat that hand.
Triple 5.
Second motion.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second for a tax rate of 0.11555. That would be 2 aces and 3 5s for a full house. You're right. Do I have a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Got it. 5-0. And we will be discussing this tax rate and passing it at the next regular scheduled meeting after a public hearing on it.
The public hearing.
Discussion and consideration setting a public hearing for September 9th, 2025 at 6 p.m. at 1605 Whitaker Drive regarding the tax rate and the 2025 and for the FY 2025-2026 budget.
Motion to approve.
All those in favor? Aye. Consent agenda, approval of the July 8th, 2025 meeting minutes. Does anybody have any angst about that? So motion?
Motion to approve.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
No resolution. Public hearings. I'm going to open a public hearing at 8:09 p.m. for the Twin Creeks Preserve grant applications. We're going to conduct a public hearing to receive comments regarding the district's intent to apply for multiple grant programs and commit matching funds in support of proposed Twin Creeks Preserve scoping, acquisition, and build design projects. Grant applications under consideration include the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department's Local Parks Non-Urban Outdoor Recreation Grant, it's a mouthful, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service North American Wetlands Conservation Act, U.S. Standard Grant, and the U.S. Economic Development Administration Disaster Supplemental Grant. The purpose of the hearing is to solicit input from residents and stakeholders on the proposed use of state, federal, and local resources for floodplain restoration, habitat conservation, and public recreation improvements within the Twin Creeks Preserve project area. Is there any public comments or anything that somebody would like to discuss in this public hearing?
It's on Sugar Creek. It's 45.3 acres.
And if I may, the purpose of this public hearing is part of what y'all approved last meeting in July regarding the submission of applications for grants. And this is just another box that gets checked regarding that process of submission. But we're not committing to anything tonight.
Anything we would commit to would have to come before the board. This is just in the pursuit.
Yeah, when we were putting the first one together, it required a public hearing, so we decided to just go and put them all up into.
As y'all know, before Samantha was on board, we never had a grant writer at the district full time, and we were out of compliance on some things that would not allow us to get any FEMA money or anything. We rectified those with our hazard mitigation plan and formalizing our contracts. There were some oversights that just weren't taken care of. They've been fixed. So Samantha is now actively going after money in every direction possible. It's like throwing darts on the board, but there's a lot to it, a lot of back and forth, a lot of forms to fill out. It's pretty formal. So we're looking for money to augment your tax money for anything, including land acquisition, which is near and dear to Jim and I's heart, especially in places where it's really important to acquire. I'm gonna tell you something, these landowners want a lot of money for this land. So grant money would be nice. Otherwise, it's going to cost the taxpayers a fortune and it'll deplete our budget. It's also for projects on creeks, expansion of certain type of bank repairs, all kinds of things that Samantha is always has her tentacles out to help augment the taxpayers' money. So it's a new frontier for the district and something that she was my first hire on this. So it's important. It's very important. And it takes time to get that ball rolling because as Robert knows in the city, I mean, it takes time to get that ball going and you don't get every grant and you're competing. So that's with our budgeting software and stuff we had a public hearing on. What that's going to do is just imagine piles of money from the federal government and the state. We want to be the most organized district and the most modern district in the state to race and get that money. And that's what we're trying to do, to be so organized and modern that we have the data compiled where it kind of is a game because the squeaky wheel, the more organized district, the one who's prepared to go get the money gets the money. And that's what she's doing. So yeah, there's pressure on her to perform. There's no doubt. Pressure on Paige, pressure on the staff. Is there anything to add on that from y'all? And like I said, if somebody wants to speak, Robert, if you want to say something.
No, I'm just missing a page.
Okay. If somebody wants to speak, please let me know. It's a public hearing.
Let me just say something about that. I hate bureaucracies, but this is the mother of all bureaucracies that Samantha has to deal with. There are a whole host of. We had a meeting with the city of Friendswood about flood things, and they had a grant, and Bill showed me a stack of papers that thick with a checklist of how you spend the money. And that's after you get the grant. So it's very competitive. There's a lot of people at it, but and we found out we missed some money just because we hadn't done our homework. And for God's sakes, one of these days when we go to Washington or the state of Texas to go after some of these monies for these bigger projects, we want to make sure we have our T's crossed and I's dotted. And it's a damn shame you have to spend money to get some of your money back, but that's unfortunately what it takes. I don't like spending money, the taxpayers' money. I'm a taxpayer too for lobbyist, but it's almost a form of lobbying. And Sam's got the contacts with the Corps and others that knows how to run those traps. And unfortunately, we just don't have a big enough bank account to do all the things we want to do. So that's one of the multifaceted balls that we're trying to keep in the air to see if we can't grab some of that money. You never know until you ask. Keep up the good work, Dan. Thank you.
Anything else anything from this? And we do keep our powder dry. I mean, we're not broke at the district and we're not going to run broke. I think I told one of that for this meeting. We're not going to run broke because when something comes up, we're going to be able to strike. Now, I don't know what's gonna come up. I hope it's not a $2 million bank repair on Sugar Creek or Carver Street that comes up, but it could happen. And it's expensive, but we have to fix that. I mean, first and foremost, we have to take care of our aging waterways and make sure the water is at low mean sea level and leaving the city and our district. So yes, that's gonna happen. But, you know, Jim and I have talked about for years, if the right piece of property, we got a couple in mind, ever comes up and we can afford it, and Sam can be on the ball with a grant application that's coming through, man, that'd be sweet. But you're never going to get there if you're not on the ball and trying and writing the grants and looking. It's a synergistic deal. So we're gonna do that process. We're gonna be ready. This district's not going to sit by hoping. We're going to be prepared. So when the hope happens, we're professionally engaged and ready to go. Okay, I'm going to close, if no comments, I'm going to close this public hearing at 8:17.
What?
It's on, I'm just looking at the clock. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, that one.
Okay, 8:15, wow, 8:15 PM. Done. There you go. Number 11, discussion and reports from staff members. If we can keep these pithy, but I know they need to be good, so let's hear it.
Okay, the first one is that I want to introduce the staff and the citizens to Fanny Tomlinson. She's our new office manager and admin. So when you have a call and you call the drainage district, humans answer. And from now on, most part, it'll be Fanny answering the phone, Fanny at the door, Fanny directing you to forward your call to Randy, to myself, to Melissa, to Samantha to answer your questions, but someone dedicated to office operations, and we're really excited to have you. You've spent, I think, over 2 decades with UTMB in customer service and in administration, and so we're really excited that you're here. And then the one that I'm really excited to give you all as well, I'm excited about all of them, is IDRT. We are in phase 2 of those operations for collection of information. So the first phase was gathering the models. The second phase is getting the samples and the drone data. And then the full 4 phases will take about a year till we have the models and data in hand. They have been out there doing data collection. The vessel team has been out there for a couple of weeks. I've been told by Dr. Giaz that it's a 2-person vessel and that they don't have room for me working with us because I've asked. But we're looking at scheduling a day soon that they can come out and we can come out and we can take photos and videos and share with the public a bit more about the collection. Drones, they're starting drone operations as well. So we're just very excited about progress on these 2 IDRT tasks that are going on. Second update, it was as mentioned during the board member comments, but we had Granicus out here for 2 half days, so full 8 hours last week with board member and staff input. It was a public meeting, and we posted that as well. We talked about different technology solutions for the district, what might be a good fit. We talked about an agenda management system and getting that proposal scoped out, because that's something that I'm passionate about, is that y'all don't have all the information that we have and we don't have a good way to get it to y'all. And so making that process streamlined, making the streaming and indexing of videos streamlined, a 311 system where the apps on Friendswood citizens phones where you could take a picture of an obstruction or something that you see, and then geolocate it with where you're at if you're on along Sugar Creek, and that goes directly to a human, Randy, and then it gets assigned to one of our field ops. The field ops has a name, and they respond back to you, and you can track the progress of the issue. And you can push out the information to the citizens of, this is the bank repair happening in this neighborhood, so if you're interested in this, like, here's your information. And so that we can track and y'all can track along with us all of the things that are going on in the district, and we can better serve y'all. So coming up next month, there will probably be a proposal before the board to discuss all of the ranges of technology and how y'all want to layer that, and things that I'm excited about to share with y'all next month. Before I pass it to, nope, I'm ready to pass it to you, Randy. I'm done talking. So Randy, if you could please, your field ops.
Here's some of the stuff that we've been doing over the past month. Mowing, this is Boca Raton. This is a spot that only these slope mowers can use, just because of the side of it. This is Boca Raton also. Just want everybody to see, how good it looks. This is Clearview. This is actual pond. The Clear Creek is on the other side of that pond. Our contractors and our big batwings have done a really nice job out there. It looks picturesque.
That's what Liz was talking about, y'all, just so you know, that's the Clear Creek area.
Just there.
Yeah, that's the area. That's the pond that's there that we've gone and defoliaged underneath all the trees there. That's standing on Clearview, looking back at the creek there.
It's not a pond, it's just a big shelved area, Randy. But
Yeah, well, it looks like a pond, yes. This is Hunter's Creek, right on Sugar Creek. This is, we did some tree trimming here. These trees had vines and all kinds of stuff in them where none of the tractors could get within 8 feet of them. And we've gone through and trimmed up the trees and got them looking nice and a lot healthier. This is just showing this is also the same area. Been doing a bank repair on this area that I'll show here in a minute. This is deep wood. This is where we got out a couple of trees a couple of weeks ago. Mini excavator, you mentioned that a minute ago that we're looking to get this mini excavator. You can do so much with a little excavator like this as far as getting it around and doing things. It pulled out this tree. Where it's so nice, and they have rubber tracks. You can drive in people's yards. You don't tear the yards up, which is very nice. And we don't have everything we have is big and steel tracked, and I'm having to resod yards when I have to get in someone's yard. This is also pulling the trees out at the same place. You can see this is a little John boat that we row out in to get the trees. That's the John boat going over to tie up to the trees so the excavator can come back.
we're gonna have a proper boat soon.
These are the trees. This is the third tree of that group that we pulled out. So they're big trees that are falling, and all of those unfortunately fell from the Harris County side. But it was in a creek, so we got them out as quick as we could. This is that bank repair that I was talking about. We sloped Sugar Creek in an area where we did some bank repair on the other side to take some of the pressure off. This is obviously just compacting it in. This is after it's finished. I got a better picture. You can see in the shade, you can kind of see how far it goes around, how it sloped. The bank did look like the other side, just straight down and 10 feet wide. So now it's 30 feet wide. So it'll a lot more water can travel through there and not get over the bank. This is just the other way looking on the other side from where I was standing. So this is part of the project Samantha is looking at maybe getting a grant for, where we can do the entire bank, because we have easement on that side. We don't have an easement on the other side. So we would be able to lay the whole thing back if we can get that grant, which would be nice. This is a project that we've been doing at El Dorado. This is Lundy Lane. We cleared out the ditch on the backside there. I've showed this on several different times, but we're now moving up. We started at the end, we're moving up. We're doing this in concert with the city. The city's grade all couldn't reach the inside of this ditch. So we had an actual dozer go in and do this. The excavator is just pulling out all the junk down there at the end.
And I ran into the public works director today, getting my haircut actually, and I'm gonna tell you something. Y'all two working together on this has been really nice.
Yeah, no,
Y'all done a really good job out there, Randy, dealing with the citizens too and explaining to them what y'all are doing.
yeah. The citizen here where this is the end of where we were just looking. The end. We've made a little crossover. We're able to the homeowner there gave us an easement on the side of the ditch, so now we can get to the back of Box Ditch and some of the pieces that we used to have to go through people's property. So that's nice. This is just the excavator pulling it out. Daryl, our employee that's getting ready to retire, is driving that excavator. He actually worked for a contractor that graded this ditch 20 something years ago. So I told him, now you're grading it right before you leave. So I told him I was going to put, he didn't want me to put his picture in here, but I did anyway. That's one side of Lundy. This is the other side. Actually, that side was the city's ditch. This side is our ditch, Box Ditch. and you can see we're grading, it's just muck. But you know, our Clint, our employee, you know, he's running grade in the middle to make sure that we're staying at a slope that will drain the water out. This is what the ditch looks like after it's done, after we finish it. This is the one where we're out pulling the muck, and we did with the dozer on this side. The other side is what we did with our long reach. And then this is the poopy part of my job. This is a detention pond that we found that unfortunately people have toilets in the detention pond. Yeah, true. It looked like they had fires. They burned fires in them and all kinds of stuff. So I don't know, but I just thought I'd throw this one in there. This is my last one. It's not, it's not all fancy and nice. I don't get to do.
So y'all hear the nonsense from Wayne and other people about what the drainage district does. It's something that the district does a lot, and we're doing even more. We'll do more money, but Randy has really taken it to a whole nother level. And I'm really appreciative. He's really good at working with the people and getting these little temporary easements and talking to people and telling them what we're doing, and the work he's doing speaks for himself. That bank repair we did on Sugar Creek, I'm going to show you where we laid that creek back in one of the projects we're looking at. If we could do that in a lot of these waterways that we have, it's creating less friction, it's creating better capacity, but it's allowing some relief on these neighborhoods. The next thing we got to do is we got to work on Clear Creek. The main aorta has to be doing something, but we're doing great work, and I'm very appreciative of this new staff you've hired and what's going on. And I'm appreciative you're working with the city so well. Believe me, these are on old creeks. Friendswood has old infrastructure, and it's tough in Friendswood. That's what I was trying to tell Wayne outside. What the work we've done on Dixon Bayou has been a lot cleaner because there was nothing there. We were fighting gophers, chiggers, and an occasional stray cow out there the last 25 years. Now there's roots going out there. So that's good now, but the battlefield's prepared. This work we do on the old part of Friendswood is a whole different animal. And so good job.
I was going to give a quick update on different grants. The barrel disaster recovery, the PA, we're finally wrapping stuff up with FEMA, and then it's going to go over to TDM. They're saying that from this point, it's probably going to be about 6 months before we get reimbursed. But the number is around $550,000. And then we, of course, are working on the applications. Like the main goal with the Twin Creeks Preserve is to acquire the land. But one or two of the programs, if we could get the whole project paid for, we're going to go ahead and throw an application in for that. And then last week, I worked with Randy and Paige, and we put in a project application for a bank repair on Sugar Creek between FM 518 and FM 528, similar to what Randy showed you. It would be a $1.2 million project. So with the grant, we assume that there would be some level of putting plans together, a little bit of engineering work, but the brunt of it would be for construction, for bank repairs.
Very good. So
And then,
these are not.
and then RFPs. So I've been getting started, but we're going to be putting out several RFPs over the next month or two, starting with debris removal and monitoring, then mowing, then one for maintenance and small repairs, and finally an RFQ for the Dickinson Bayou Master Drainage Plan. We'll be really busy working on those and getting those out.
So the master drainage plan will encapsulate how we categorize our capital improvement projects, even though we have a couple that we've discussed before that are up top. Our master drainage plan is older, and a lot of them are older. Some, I think the city's goes back to 2008, I believe. So the city is redoing their master drainage plan. Of course, we are too. The good part about it is we've decided, because the city asked us to step out of the process because of their grant and the way they need to do it. Hill actually asked us, we have stepped out. We're going, I think, going for Dickinson Bayou first. And our thought process is we're going to spend a lot of money on Dixon Bayou watershed and our master drainage plan there. But as we work back towards Friendswood, we'll have IDRT information, at least the preliminary stuff. And what we're going to do is make sure that information is 100% shareable, 100% shareable with the city of Friendswood, with League City, with any entity that needs it to help augment the master drainage plan in any way. And then, of course, then we'll do the other half of our district, combine it. And like I said, by then IDRT might be doing advanced studies on what they found. So that's the plan for us working towards our new master drainage plan.
And then, of course, Friendswood is working on their master drainage plan, and so we hope to not repeat anything that they're doing. Take that along, yes.
Well, that's another thing. Friendswood, that's another thing.
They're not
So-
looking at Dickinson Bayou.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
right. Since Friendswood doesn't have Dixon Valley watershed really in their area, we're looking to let them do their work. We didn't complicate their grant process stuff. Look them to do their work here while we do it there. And then when we move this way, we don't have to repeat. They're going to share with us also, and we can augment with our DRT. And I think I think in Clear Creek, we can make a fantastic master drainage plan with some seriously good data from the city of Friendswood and from IDRT, and we can backfill anything they need to. So that's how we're working it. All good plans always have twists and turns, but that is the process. With that said, district engineer's report.
Did we want to briefly review any items for auction September 2025 agenda?
Those will be upcoming on September.
It wasn't reviewed. That's all.
Oh, yeah, it's just a heads up that,
September, yeah.
yeah, we're, per our policies, are supposed to surplus yearly. It hasn't been done in over 10 years. So there's gonna be a lot of items next month on the list that we would like to surplus, which will also help offset equipment costs that we're buying.
Yes.
But we're moving on to item 12, so.
Y'all got to be quicker. You have to be
Yes, sir.
quicker because I already moved on to item 12.
Yes, sir.
So I'll just go.
Thank you for the floor. So barge update. They're officially starting this week. So again, we ran into some issues with the tariffs on the grapple crane. We had to change pace a little bit on that and get it out of Canada. And so they couldn't start until they received that. So that's promising. Got that. Tracking along on reviews. We've got several of them in, Pastor fours and actual plan and plat reviews for legacy and Wild Leaf Estates, things like that. We've been looking at drones, as you know. So we've got some dealers out there. We've got a cost estimate back for one that's American made, and it is extremely expensive for what it is. So we're going to keep looking at our options. We looked out to another manufacturer, and then we'll go from there. So.
And I know they mentioned earlier that grants could take a really long time, but I like initially, if we're, I think we go forward with like a less expensive drone. But if we were interested in getting another one, there are some foundation grants that I've seen that are focused on public safety that are for like $50,000. I don't think a police department is going to take the time to like apply for that because they're looking at, 10 drones and setting up this whole system. But that might be something that we could look into to help build on the drone program.
I like a good project for you. As long as things flooding and drainage.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Scott. You're a big asset to the district. I want to say thank you for everything you've done this past, year and 3 months since I've been transitioning to this great staff. You've been a very good, steady force in this district.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yep. City of Friendswood reports. Councilman Griffon, will you come up to the podium?
Well,
please,
I'll be as quick as I can. It's already been a long night. I want to bore you.
Hey, it's shorter than the school board was last night.
Don't bore you guys too much. I do want to mention, like Samantha mentioned, the city is full speed ahead on its master drainage plan, and they're working on it day in, day out. I also, y'all mentioned grant funds and that sort of things. The Friendswood historically was not in the drainage business until after Hurricane Harvey. And then the citizens said, City of Friendswood get involved. We usually used to handle all the water, getting it to you guys, and then you guys took that water and ran with it. But after the bonds, we did get about $30 or so million. And the ability to leverage those dollars with other dollars is historically what Friendswood has always done with any bond dollars. If you could get 75% of somebody else's money and you put up 25% of your money, or 10%, 90%, like had been mentioned earlier, you have $30 million, you could do $97 million worth of work. So that grant monies that he is talking about is really important. We had the Clear Creek Watershed Steering Committee meeting this morning. We had great attendance. Jason, thanks for coming. Jim, thanks for coming. Samantha, thank you for coming. And Mr. Whittington in public comments had talked a little bit about catching rainwater off the roofs and everything like that. I think that's a great idea. Everybody should catch their rainwater and use it. Well, there you go. And this was really interesting. He said he was talking about water quality. Well, that came up this morning. The stormwater detention basin at the Reverend William and R.V. Lawson Park is part of a pilot project to help the flood control district identify techniques to improve stormwater quality. One component of the pilot will feature wetland shells being revegetated with local native species to enhance water quality treatment capabilities. Other key objectives of the pilot are to determine how water quality treatment can be enhanced by utilizing floating vegetated islands and to identify the types of materials that will function best in stormwater detention basins. And I know Samantha, when she was at the city, they also looked at species and putting plants and things over in the forest bin park, which is important for letting that water filtrate through those types of grasses. And that stuff is happening today. So we're seeing water catching. Of course, I would not be in favor of any city telling me that I had to do that or that sort of thing. But if I want to do it on my own property, I would be more than happy to do that.
It reduces mowing costs too.
Yeah, there you go.
He didn't mow.
Actually, the repair grant that we put in, the funding was authorized before the current presidential administration, so they were still looking for water quality. So we put the application together looking at a building with nature approach and seeing if there was a way to minimize riprap usage. And then of course using native grasses.
Good pick up that. Go ahead, Robert.
All right. So I didn't really want to go really deeply into the Friendswood, the federal project. All the dates and all that are still the same. We're reaching right on. They're moving along with whatever they're supposed to be moving along with. And I think 2032, 2033 is still the date on that. But what was interesting about some of the conversation with the federal project was the mention of the gates. And at 146, the second water gate over there, that's under the maintenance and control of Harris County Flood Control District. And they have completed that project over the last 16 or 18 months. Now, that is not something to hold water back. It's not ever been intended to do that, but they keep it closed 97% of the time unless there is a huge water storm event, and that's when they open that up. And they'll open that up and allow the water to go out. That's the main purpose of that. And so that was really interesting to see that today. Jim, I think you mentioned the Friendswood Regional 1959 project. The final grading on that is done. I think Don talked about that quite a bit. I'm not going to go into that. I know that there's some meeting for stakeholders that are coming up, and the stakeholders are going to have to figure out what they're willing to do and what they're not willing to do. And we'll all look at the H&H models and that sort of thing later. And then the Whitcomb project, everybody knows that is a partnership with Harris County Flood Control District. We got we did get $10 million from the state. It is a project that is controlled and led by Harris County Flood Control District. It is a terracing project. And I know that Lisa and Samantha both mentioned benching. Well, benching to me and terracing are virtually identical. It's just synonymous. And I love conveyance projects. And you all know that you have to mitigate for it. And I've heard conflicting things said up here in regards to that, but I heard Lisa say that and Samantha say that you have to mitigate for it. If you don't, then people are going to get upset downstream, and we don't want to have that. And so to mitigate the benching or terracing projects that are going to be going on at the Whitcomb property, which is about 3,300 linear feet of 200 feet wide linear benching on that Whitcomb side, by the church, and that's being mitigated by a private developer who has dug one and completed one detention basin. And we're also looking at maybe combining another detention basin by the elementary school if we need to get more mitigation for that terracing project that's coming up. So that's pretty much my report. That's as quickly as I could get it done for you. Yes, we're in budgeting process just like you are. I don't know that I don't know if the district even considers new construction in Galveston County. I know we had about $120 million worth of new construction in the Galveston County, City of Friendswood area. So I know I always look at that. Just that's my own personal view. But thank y'all. I appreciate you.
Thanks for being
Oh,
here.
and you mentioned Friendswood Church. I married into the Friendswood Church on August the 3rd, 1985, and my wife and I just celebrated 40 years. All right, good job. It's a great church. I married into it and I love it.
That's good. We accept you.
Good.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Robert. There's nobody here from the city of League City, so I'm going to move towards executive session. The board of directors will conduct a closed meeting in order to seek advice of its attorney about pending or contemplated litigation, settlement offers, or any matter which is the duty of the attorney of the district under the Texas disciplinary rules of professional conduct of the State Bar of Texas clearly conflicts with the Texas Open Meetings Act per Texas Government Code 551.071. For legal issues concerning any item listed on today's posted agenda. Discussion regarding current litigation matters will be discussed, and we will reconvene in open session after we are done. Thank you all for joining.
The time of
I better get it right, so they'll jump on me for this. Okay.
and the second thing is that we identified an error in the case number. It's actually 25-CV-003A, the scrivener's error. However, that is the GCCDD versus Hometown Bank Institution, as it publicly available on the case records from Galveston County. The other number 24-CV-2406 is the GCCDD versus Tianos, but in abundance of caution, even though it's a scrivener's error, I would recommend that we do not go into executive session for the first one, but only for the second.
Okay, so we will go into executive section for the second item,
Yes, sir.
25.
24-CV-2406.
So we're not going in for 25, we're going in for 24 CV 2406.
Yes, sir.
And we're leaving at 8:41 PM and we will reconvene when we are done. Thank you all for coming very much. I appreciate it.
I was. Heck, yes.
Conversation, not in regards to those. But make it.
Scott.
Probably call it.
I'll take it. Oh, I'll be there. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Back last week, I had Dr. Swain, I had
All kinds of things.
Like
She
Darren,
just showed up. I said, "Yeah."
Kelly and Darren
Yeah.
come like, Dale.
So
Dale.
somebody,
Well,
somebody.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I told her.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I was like, and I went, oh,
They submit their permit through the city. And
That's right.
the city will send us go to Indiana.
I always enjoy your report.
Give us everything correct and we'll process the cash.
Education.
okay.
Which is the purchase of notation for
It's
single
also
family
good to
residences.
have and just when
Okay,
Oh,
so
oh,
there was.
meetings are out, they're not out there having a press conference or meeting,
Sure.
whatever.
So.
And I can see if you don't want to.
That.
Right, right.
But we didn't have,
Right.
we didn't think
Yeah.
we would say.
So it's
How are you?
Yeah.
Sometimes-
Yeah. I don't know how the rules go, but I don't know if the architectural review committee could regulate that. But
Right, yeah, because
Yeah.
we don't seem to have any room in our regulations to regulate. But I work, because I know.
I understand.
Oh, that's rough, then. Across the street from them.
Yeah, but
Depending
down,
on fellows it is.
you know.
I know.
How can we find out who paid Del for people? Because you
I don't know, but
you don't even stay for the good stuff.
No.
They're really spending the money. And I love the way, I love the way that you, I love the way you all leaned into that and just, talk about how good the board was. and how-
Right, I know, I did.
But in the evening, it's great.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like,
He's got his own,
by the way,
Consulting.
do you think it's gonna take long? Okay. There's a brand
the dog district.
We don't need you.
We don't need it, she said.
Yeah. Which is funny because Nick Long, can always say, oh, yeah, we want to get rid of you guys because we prepared.
I never could get me more.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
And now they want
Yeah, you
to.
heard
How
me
they're
like
gonna
that.
come in. Right.
I mean, I understand the
How
problem.
you prepare this, I mean, we've been, you.
I think that there's a limit on
That area.
how much work needs to be done there because of
Yeah, right.
the benefit.
I
that
did
can
all
be
the
done.
district. Can you imagine?
Again, the reports that Gage did
They're never going to.
in excavating into a wet bottom pond and getting additional volume due to the elevation of that additional volume, it's going to be inundated with a 100-year storm event, so you're not going to see a reduction in 100-year storm. So I don't think it's worth the extra $30 million you'd have to spend past the 28 million to get zero.
20 million.
Well, 20, 30, whatever it is, but yeah.
And to the district. And just the-
Yeah.
Sure.
the district
But if there's
here,
zero benefit,
So keep his whole-
there's no reason to spend $20 million.
I think there is.
It wasn't a long time. Yeah.
That's being discounted.
It doesn't correlate to a reduction in water surface elevation, unfortunately. Detention volume, especially in that watershed, it doesn't directly correlate to a reduction, a significant reduction in water surface elevation.
I've got a whole system.
Yeah.
My system. It's got to be straight away.
Yeah.
Sure.
And then from there, one day. And as you start.
Yeah.
That's everything.
Not in that instance, there's a medium volume, an actual volume that was going to be affected. Excess volume that that's gonna create is not gonna be effective. It's not gonna be there. It's not gonna be available. For the storm. It's gonna be filled up lower level. You know, like a 5-year storm event. It'll end up because of the elevation. It's all hydraulic.
And you're providing detention, mitigating the extra flow that you're
And
spending.
it was 11, but yeah, and they're going to draft.
Sure. And I agree with you in theory, but it's not that simple. The volume doesn't equate to a reduction downstream all the time. It depends on what elevation we're at and all those things.
If we're storing 325 gallons here, well, storing 100 million gallons.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna take them up. Okay.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you. But yeah, when we get recording tonight, I'll make sure that.
Sure.
Yeah.
You out?
Melissa, take you up.
Oh, there you go. Every summer.
They've got batteries.
And I understand, like, they.
You've got the clearance to do the conveyance. As long as you can do the conveyance.
Yeah, I understand.
And you're hoping that eventually they get the gates and the plastic around.
Yeah. That's
Be able to control it. And it all works out that way. I'm not trying to interfere. It's some way to sneak it in.
I don't think, Harris County has in the budget to go to the one, right? 28 million dollars for this.
I don't think we need to do it, but I think we should at least finish it to the crime.
Yeah. Yeah.
When I pull this. And then we.
Should have taken you in to do. You should be, those things, they had seats, they had a, remember all the people that got arrested for January 6th? Well, they had J6 or kind of there. And he's speaking. How many they get for it? Yeah, that's right. So that's what I'm meeting. So I was thinking that spots like running on this. She's at the other market and the other arbor. Yeah, there was no. That's okay, we ate one of the extra. Good, I'm glad you did. All right, well, you ready?
Yeah.
You go.
What is your comment?
Sure.
Somebody's gonna finish.
Yeah.
And so, the district system are really bad if, it looks like the district's just,
Yeah.
fading out. You let them,